Chapter 369. 8th Level. Tang Tian was at a loss, but after a while, he reacted. Oh my! I remember, we swallowed the crane crystal pill. Facing the overbearing Honorable Martial Alliance, the Constellation Masters dared not say anything, and remained silent towards the Honorable Martial Alliance's request, which was their silent protest. Tang Tian said it casually, causing Angelina's heart to tighten. Idiot! Ling Su rolled his eyes. She listened carefully, trying her best to imprint every word he said into her mind. His foresight and understanding of the current situation was something she could not compare to. His cold voice resonated in the room, causing Angelina to listen attentively. She knew that regardless of whether it was in terms of tactics or understanding of the current situation, she was far from being able to compare to him. Tang Tian's unfathomable methods had completely subdued her. To her, Qiu Shan was already unfathomable, but he was easily killed by him. As for how to hold on, think about it yourself. I am not familiar with Andromeda constellation, but the essence of war is to use your strongest point to attack the enemy's weakest point. If you really die, then there is nothing you can do. Qi Meng was about to speak, but Qi Yuntai said indifferently, It is fine if Orion constellation does not speak, but once it does, we cannot retreat. The war has just started, and the Martial Group is already retreating, then there is no need to fight anymore. Not only will they fight, they will win beautifully. In this period of time, she needed to face it alone, and face the Honorable Martial Alliance's counterattack. The terrifying pressure was like a mountain crushing down on her. Time slowly passed. Liar! Ling Su scolded. He shook his head and calmed himself down. Chi. The Honorable Martial Alliance did not expect Orion constellation to interfere at such a critical juncture, but if the war had just started, and they were already in such a passive situation, only the loneliness and darkness belonged to them. In the entire matter, Qiu Shan's figure was faintly discernible. Although there were people who suspected Angelina, but almost everyone thought that the Honorable Martial Alliance was the mastermind behind the plot. The Honorable Martial Alliance insisted that Andromeda constellation did not have any evidence, but their rebuttal was powerless. She already knew that he would be leaving for a period of time, and it would be a very long time. This caused her to panic, but his tone did not allow any doubts, so she did not speak. Qi Meng might seem crude, but he was meticulous and thought, Then what about us? Are we just going to watch? To any constellation, people like Qiu Shan who used conspiracies to subvert and destroy other constellations were hated by all constellations. In time, everyone was in danger, especially the small constellations. They all stayed far away from Honorable Martial Group. The sound of something breaking through the air came out from not far away. Tang Tian subconsciously turned his head. A figure was completely enveloped by a ball of spear images. How? Angelina's entire body turned cold. Even he said that it would be tough. How tough would it be? Qiu Shan's diplomatic mission to Andromeda constellation, Asda objected to the alliance with the Honorable Martial Alliance. Qiu Shan left angrily, and then the explosion of the fairy palace, Asda's death, the higher-ups almost losing their lives, Qiu Shan's night attack on Angelina's Rose Manor. Tang Tian sighed at how time passed quickly. It's true, I'm still at the 7th level. Tang Tian scratched his head, his face full of suspicion. But my 7th level seems to be different from before. You're finally awake. Crane's joyful voice sounded out beside his ear. Andromeda constellation was just one of the 19 continents in the northern sky. Its power was not considered strong, and with the loss of the higher-ups, it was even weaker. But it had a long history, and had a harmonious relationship with the other constellations. The generations of constellation masters were kind to others, and had formed countless of good karma. Andromeda constellation's misfortune had caused the other constellations to sympathize with them. I still haven't taken revenge for myself, Qi Meng mumbled. Tang Tian opened his eyes in a daze. He felt that his body was extremely tired, and his entire body did not have any strength. It was as though he had just completed some kind of high-intensity training, and there was still some dull pain. Although Angelina had become the constellation master of Andromeda constellation, but Andromeda City was in chaos. The aristocratic families and businesses were all like a group of dragons without a leader, and to Tang Tian, it was the best opportunity. The two of them looked at Tang Tian in shock. The sky full of spear images suddenly disappeared, revealing Ling Su's figure. Ling Su's face had an unconcealable look of joy. "I'm at the 8th level." Crane's expression relaxed. "That's right, how could I forget that this crazy young man is a freak? This brat's improvement in training has always been abnormal. Wait a minute, don't tell me he's really at the 9th level. I'm also at the 8th level." Crane's face brimmed with a confident smile. "The war has just begun." Crane immediately became anxious. "What's wrong?" "The Honorable Martial Alliance will not give up, they want to display their strength. Their people are already on the way, and you are their target. Orion Constellation and Leo Constellation's martial artists are also on the way, they will risk their lives to protect you. Andromeda Constellation will become their battlefield, you need to take charge of the situation." This news made all the constellation masters in Heaven's Road excited. With that, Tang Tian disappeared, without a trace of reluctance. He initially wanted to meet Ta Dun, to see the quality of the plateau army, but there was not enough time. They will not send many people, and their strength will not be high. What you need to do is to contact all the powers that can be contacted and fight against them. This process will be very difficult and Andromeda Constellation will be smashed to pieces, but you need to hold on. The battle between the Honorable Martial Alliance and Leo Constellation had started, causing the entire Heaven's Road to be filled with the atmosphere of war, but the change in Andromeda Constellation immediately attracted the attention of Heaven's Road. And the new constellation master of Andromeda Constellation, Angelina, had publicly declared war on the Honorable Martial Alliance, causing the entire Heaven's Road to be shaken. The Honorable Martial Alliance was enraged, and directly accused Andromeda Constellation of framing the Honorable Martial Alliance. And Qiu Shan's family even announced that they wanted to flatten Andromeda Constellation. The experts of the Qi family had already traveled day and night, killing their way to Andromeda Constellation. They wanted to take revenge for Qiu Shan. In the Rose Manor, Tang Tian and Angelina were saying the same thing. Qi Yuntai looked into the distance. "What's the rush? The war has just begun. I'm leaving." The crane crystal pellet was created by him. If anything were to happen, he would definitely feel guilty. Tang Tian shook his head. "I'm still at the 7th level." After spending a week's time, Tang Tian secretly assisted Angelina, and established the Andromeda Merchant Alliance. Almost all the powerful merchant organizations in Andromeda City were wiped out in one fell swoop. Even with his outstanding intelligence, he still felt that it was too much. The Qi family was a big family of the Honorable Martial Alliance, and was much more prominent than the Yi family. The current Qi family patriarch, Qi Yuing, was one of the 13 Honorable Martial Clan elders of the Honorable Martial Alliance. The identity of the Honorable Martial Clan elder was extremely honorable, but Qi Yuing did not lose his ambition, and went deep into the savage lands of Heaven's Road alone, and did not return for many years. If all the aristocratic families and merchant organizations were to gather together, it would definitely be an astonishing power. This idea was impossible to achieve normally, but at such a special time, the stable power and order of the various families had already been disrupted, so it was not impossible. Everyone needed to huddle together for warmth, if not, they would not be able to survive the winter. The Honorable Martial Alliance that was trying to rope in all sorts of allies, was hitting walls everywhere. "Impossible!" Crane exclaimed out loud. "Honorable Martial Alliance, Qi family." After a while, Tang Tian reacted. His eyes opened wide, and he jumped up. "Wah! Ling Su, you've become stronger. Orion constellation was one of the overlords of the 10 equatorial palace halls. Its power was something that even the Honorable Martial Alliance did not dare to look down on. Don't tell me you're already at the 9th level. Ling Su had a face of suspicion, but very quickly, he was shocked by his own guess. Orion constellation is truly seeking death. Qi Meng was tall and big, his skin was dark, and his entire body was as tough as steel. His voice was like thunder, his face was filled with anger, and his appearance was terrifying. The Qi family disciples were mostly handsome men and beautiful women, but for Qi Meng to be so crude and ugly, it was extremely different. He had been bullied since young, and his temperament was irritable and perverse, and the only person he respected was Qi Yueying. Qi Meng became anxious. Second brother, it has already come to this, what are you thinking about? A dog shit Andromeda constellation dares to declare war on us, and a dog shit Orion constellation dares to point fingers at us. If we do not retaliate, we will lose all our face. When Big Brother returns, how do I explain to him? Qi Yuntai sighed, his heart was filled with bitterness. Tang Tian was at a loss. Crane's face was filled with helplessness. Why is this guy always so slow to react? He reminded him. Quickly look at how much you have? The current leader of the Qi family was Qi Yueying's younger brother, Qi Yuntai. Qi Yuntai was a steady person, and out of the 3 Qi brothers, his strength was the weakest, but the way he handled matters was outstanding, and all of the Qi family's matters were taken care of by him. Ling Su and Crane were still meditating, but their Qi had already calmed down. Tang Tian sat down and looked at the two of them, suddenly feeling envious. He did not have any friends, and had never known what a friend was. That stupid fellow actually had such a group of good friends, which he could not understand. Of course we will just watch. Qi Yuntai said leisurely. In other people's eyes, Andromeda constellation is the victim. But in the Martial group, our Qi family is the victim. No matter what happens to Andromeda constellation, with Shan gone, no one has such a loss. Shan is still working for the Martial group. Since the higher-ups want to fight, that means that Shan did the right thing, and will definitely compensate our Qi family. How do we manage it? Changed. Crane and Ling Su were startled. But following the continuous disclosure of the inside story, Heaven's Road was in an uproar. Qi Yuntai's face turned green. Qiu Shan was the most outstanding disciple of the Qi family's younger generation, and was placed with high hopes, but who knew that he would meet with misfortune in Andromeda constellation? They did not care about what happened to Andromeda constellation. Even 10 Andromeda constellations could not compare to Qiu Shan. He quietly returned to the Seasons Fields waterway. Qi Yuntai's face did not change. Counterattack? Do we need to counterattack? Qiu Shan had never even seen him before. Just as everyone was filled with worry for Andromeda constellation, suddenly Orion constellation of the 10 equatorial palace halls announced that if the Honorable Martial Alliance attacked Andromeda constellation, then Orion constellation would support Andromeda constellation and declare war against the Honorable Martial Alliance. Tang Tian immediately checked the true power in his body, and after a while, his expression became weird. Chapter 370. Success. Bang bang bang. Crane gasped for breath as he jumped out of the battle ring, and directly entered his body to recover. Tang Tian, who had not had enough, looked at Ling Su. Both of them fought faster and faster. The two of them stepped on each other to vent their anger, and were satisfied. They looked at each other, and without hesitation, they turned around and walked to a place not far away, and started to meditate again. The 5 balls of sparks that shot straight at him were actually revolving at high speeds, and the accumulated power almost caused Ling Su to lose. He suddenly had a daring idea, and when the idea popped out, it made him even more excited. Left, right. He did not feel anything and was sleeping soundly. Tang Tian did not have time to sigh. His right arm trembled, and the 5 true power threads suddenly separated and rushed to his 5 fingertips. Then let's try it. Ling Su retreated 3 steps, but Tang Tian's body only shook. Ling Su's true power drilled into his meridians, but his meridians were too wide, and did not cause much harm to him. The true power threads in his body were like a school of fish, quickly killing each other, and in the blink of an eye, the thread of true power was destroyed. His last thought was clear, and he was satisfied. Suddenly, his body softened and fell down. Tang Tian was also stunned by the explosion. He raised his head in a daze, and looked at the two of them. Ling Su coughed lightly. That's enough, we have more important matters to attend to. He had just gotten used to Tang Tian's attacks, and in the blink of an eye, the sword auras that he released were like hitting a high-speed revolving sand plate and bounced off. He was dumbstruck, and a few of the sword auras were bounced back to him, causing him to be flustered. The excited Tang Tian's 6 senses were extremely sharp. You're simply a bastard among bastards. I'll step on you, step on you, step on you. Ling Su scolded. The faces of the 2 people who rushed to his side became extremely ugly. The pitiful Ling Su had become Tang Tian's test subject, and the endless weird techniques made him exhausted. A perverted young man's perverted move. Little Crane, you must be very excited. Balls of light flew out from Tang Tian's fingertips and landed on the ground, creating large craters. Ling Su relaxed and panted heavily. Suddenly, his body stiffened. Wait, why was he panting? Ling Su opened his eyes wide, his face filled with disbelief. How long had it been? With his physical strength, how could he be so tired that he was panting? Little Su, pay attention to the left. This technique was similar to the stick-on attack in the joint technique. This discovery made Tang Tian even more excited. For hand-to-hand combat experts, sticking close was an extremely practical technique because it could effectively shorten the distance between the 2 sides. Ling Su was shocked. What kind of strange move was this? He did not dare to be careless. The spear in his hand changed, from offense to defense. The dense pointed C spears blocked in front of him. Tang Tian's state of mind was shaken, but he quickly regained his clarity. His 5 fingers were like hooks, and the fire-scythe ghost claw blossomed with light aura. It was too fast. Tang Tian had time to raise his palm. With such a good opportunity, Ling Su naturally would not let go of the chance to hit him when he was down. His attack was thwarted again. Ling Su was enraged. He whistled, and Tang Tian's eyes were instantly occupied by the pointed C spears. The true power threads that were hibernating in his dantian suddenly disappeared. Almost at the same time, they appeared in the meridians of Tang Tian's palms. 5 crisp and clear sounds of collisions merged into one. Ling Su's pupils suddenly widened. His body was like a sieve trembling violently. The bricks under his feet shattered, and dust flew everywhere. Some of the uses of the spiraling energy were slowly grasped by him. If it was for destruction, the speed of the true power thread's impact and the speed of the spiraling had to be fast. But it could not be too fast. If it was too fast, it would fly out like before. What should I call it? Burrowing mouse? No, Ghost King Burrowing Mouse? Let's call it Ghost Kinging. The excited Tang Tian's thoughts were much more flexible than usual. He thought of the video that Belle had bought. There was a close-quarters combat expert who could borrow strength from the opponent's attack. The oppressive sound came out. 5 balls of sparks shot out from Tang Tian's 5 fingers. The concentrated explosions mixed with the sky full of broken auras. The figures of both parties became blurry. The fist and the spear tip collided again. The pitiful Tang Tian's face was filled with shoe prints. He took a deep breath and suddenly punched out. The fingertip-sized sparks drilled deep into the ground and suddenly exploded. A perverted young man is indeed a pervert. Before the 2 of them could rush to his side, Tang Tian's snoring sounds came out. He had fallen asleep. After fighting with the 2 of them for so long, his physical strength was completely exhausted. but he was in a state of excitement and did not feel anything. When he retreated from the state of excitement, exhaustion drowned him like a tide, and he immediately fell asleep. Tang Tian did not care who came, he was in high spirit. The changes in his dantian and meridians made him feel as though he had suddenly discovered a vast sky, allowing him to toss and turn. Such a dangerous action, please don't do it again. Crane said righteously. It was truly different. Right, there's an opening on the right. So fast. The sparks were as fast as lightning, and in the blink of an eye, they were in front of him. That's right, such an irresponsible person, punishment is necessary. Crane's face was righteous, his kicks were fierce and accurate. Thinking about it, Tang Tian started to try it out. Tang Tian was deep in thought. Without thinking, he took another step forward and punched out. Crane, who was watching from the side, was moved, and did not decline. Good! Crane watched from the side with relish, and occasionally sighed. An extremely loud sound came out, and the air in front of Tang Tian's fist suddenly exploded. The high-speed rotating sharp chi accurately struck the spear tip, causing the sky full of spears to disappear. Ling Su only felt the area between his thumb and forefinger heating up, and the silver spear almost flew out of his hands. Hey you guys! Be careful of your feet, this move is a bit fierce. Bang! With sufficient true power, Tang Tian was able to freely activate the fire scythe ghost claw. Even the sparks that blossomed from his fingertips could be controlled freely. As fast as lightning, ding ding ding, every claw was ready to clash with the spear tip. Crane did not know what to say. The two of them who were pretending to be meditating had cold sweat on their foreheads. The two of them had the same thought. Luckily they did not waste time with him. He actually had a new weird move. The dantian and meridians in his body had changed beyond recognition, causing Tang Tian to be dumbstruck. He thought back. At that time, he felt like he was about to explode, and he somewhat understood. Finished, not allowing Tang Tian to object, he also sat cross-legged and meditated. But, to a close-quarters combat expert, once the distance was closed, it would mean victory. He suddenly turned his face, and looked at Tang Tian, who was shouting, his heart shivering. Bang! Idiot, idiot, are you trying to bury us alive? Ling Su scolded. Ling Su's competitive spirit was aroused. He calmed his mind, turned complicated into simple, and thrusted his spear out. Ling Su, who was already flustered, was angered to the point of vomiting blood by Crane's size. He jumped out of the battle circle and stared at Crane. It's your turn. On the contrary, the 5 fingers spewing out sparks was not that useful. Although the sparks that were spewed out were fast, but the power was too weak. Suddenly, Tang Tian thought about the Demon King Blazing Firefly. The two techniques were somewhat similar. Who knew if they could be fused? Ling Su and Crane were shocked. The two of them rushed towards Tang Tian at the same time. That's right, his arithmetic is so bad. It must be because he did not use his fingers to calculate the dantian pool. That's right, he did not have fingers at that time. Ling Su said seriously. 2 feet stepped on Tang Tian's face at the same time. That was a beautiful move. Suddenly light and suddenly heavy, suddenly fast and suddenly slow, Ling Su, who was caught off guard, immediately became flustered. Bang! The two of them who were pretending were like cats that had their tails stepped on, and jumped up at the same time. He definitely calculated the number of dantian pools wrongly. Crane's face was calm, and did not lower his feet at all. The power of the fire scythe ghost claw also increased greatly. Although his preparation was not sufficient, but a casual punch had such power, causing Ling Su to be surprised. His heart trembled, such a huge power. Crane's pressure suddenly increased. Tang Tian's palms were like 2 big drills, and his 10 fingers were like 10 small drills. To achieve such an effect, he needed at least 12 true power threads, and the speed of rotation could not be too fast. Let me try. Ling Su, who could not hold back, jumped out, thrusting his spear towards Tang Tian. "This asshole," Tang Tian shouted unhappily, but seeing that the two of them did not have any intention of moving, he could only give up. His mind was filled with spiraling energy, and the changes of the spiraling energy made him extremely fascinated. For example, the glue word arts and the bullet word arts, the two had completely different effects, but the difference in the level of true power was extremely minute. One was the difference in the speed of rotation, the other was the number of true power threads. Tang Tian's eyes were emitting an excited light aura. He was extremely excited. The true power in his body surged, causing his entire body to be filled with power. What made him feel even more inconceivable was, every layer of Dantian became extremely active, the true power was being transmitted wave after wave, causing him to feel strange. His fingertip released a ball of sparks, the sparks slowly landed on the ground. Upon touching the ground released a sizzling sound. In the blink of an eye, a deep hole was drilled out of the ground. The 5 true power threads returned to the Dantian pools. Following that, they went down and entered the lowest Dantian pool. Following that, the 5 true power threads flowed up layer by layer. Every layer they went up, their speed increased by a large margin, and when they reached the highest layer of Dantian pools, their speed was already so fast that Tang Tian had difficulty controlling it. Ling Su, who was in the midst of an intense battle, liked to clash head-on. It was his favorite fighting style. In terms of speed, he had never lost to anyone before. Just at this time, suddenly, Tang Tian's fire scythe ghost claw had a new change. He decided to try it out. The sharp and mournful whistling sound was like the cry of an owl, the demonic sound piercing through the brain. How can such true power only be at the 7th level? Ling Su muttered as he stomped on the ground. Tang Tian welcomed the sky full of spears. He shot forward with his fists and spear tips clashing without any fancy moves. It was like a drill. Let's call it the drill word arts. The whirlpool had another effect, and that was the suction force. After exploding for half a day, Tang Tian finally had some result. Drill, stick, bullet, these 3 effects caused his attacking methods to immediately become more plentiful. Tang Tian was also shocked by the technique that he had created, but following that, he became even more excited, as though he was injected with chicken blood. Are there any other techniques? There must be. If not for him being extremely excited at the moment, and the increase in his control, the 5 true power threads would have immediately gone out of control. Tang Tian, who was excited, felt that the true power threads in his body were unspeakably obedient, and he could freely activate the true power threads. His heart moved. Maybe he could have more variations? Tang Tian could clearly feel a spiral fist aura, like a cannonball, drilling into the air. The power of the explosion this time was more intense than any of the previous ones. The earth quaked and the mountains swayed, causing the bricks on the top of the passageway to shake and fall. Chapter 371. Spirit Nucleus? 10 days later. Bing's gaze retracted from the lively students, and returned the greeting. How was the effect? No matter where he was, there would always be people accompanying him. Bing nodded his head and asked, "How long do you think this group of people will need?" All of them?" Crane looked at the endless passage and the corpses on the floor, perspiration forming on his forehead. "So many, how do we fit them all?" Ling Su silently mocked the 2 of them in his heart. Crane bent down and touched the dried blood stains and said, "They died for about 2 weeks. I have many silver Aquarius cabinets here." Tang Tian took out a bunch of silver Aquarius cabinet. In this endless waterway, not a single living thing could be seen. To an army, this was extremely scary. Our lesson's main content is to talk about the influence of the development of martial techniques on wars. Firstly, I need to clarify, I am more proficient in ancient wars, and am not deep into modern wars. If there are any mistakes, please do not hesitate to point them out. Then let us now take a look. which periods did the development of martial techniques go through, and the characteristics of the martial techniques in each period, as well as the influence they had on the wars at that time. The sky darkened. Looking at the two sleeping soundly, Tang Tian's eyes flashed a trace of warmth. This time was longer than what Bing had expected, but he did not object and threw out a question. If you were to choose a target for the Mo family, which constellation would you choose? Tang Tian propped up his swollen pig face that was full of footprints, his expression full of shock. It was extremely comical. Beside him, Ling Su and Crane's expression congealed, their faces were full of caution. In the few hundred years that Season Queen's waterway was sealed, all the star spirit beasts that were nurtured were all captured by them, not a single one was left. Fornax constellation? Bing was surprised. 8th level star spirit beasts were relatively intelligent. Upon realizing that the enemy was extremely strong, they would scatter. His strength had a slight increase. The first possibility was that the opponent was extremely strong, and killing 8th or 9th level star spirit beasts was as easy as blowing off dust. Bing agreed to Tang Chao's suggestion. It was equivalent to a small-scale military general academy. If it was in the past, it would be unimaginable for a captain to become a teacher of the general academy. The quality of the silver Aquarius cabinet on Tang Tian's body was of high quality. Carrying it on his body, it was only a tenth of its weight. Every silver Aquarius cabinet was equivalent to 10 over star spirit beasts. Crane had 11 silver Aquarius cabinets, while Ling Su had 13 silver Aquarius cabinet. Tang Chou was also silent for a moment before he said, "This subordinate understands. Their position in the future, this was what the Lord needed to consider. What I need to consider is to do my job well." Crane was startled and thought about it. The fact that the other party didn't take the soul core meant that the other party didn't care about money. The other party did not harm them, which meant that the other party did not have any hostility towards them. His thoughts were meticulous, and from the direction of the corpse, he could deduce that the other party was also from Lupus constellation. A warrior prefers death to humiliation. The two of them exerted all their strength and persevered until the end. When they walked out of the channel, everyone's face was pale and they were on the verge of collapsing. Every one of them had a silver Aquarius cabinet hanging on their bodies. They looked extremely dazzling and sparkling. Wah wah wah. So many soul cores. There's one here. I have this too. They are all 8th level soul cores, so much money. Tang Chou blurted out, "Fornax constellation." Bing was outside the window, quietly watching, but his heart was filled with emotions. Tang Chou and Feng Chou had changed greatly, but there was one thing that was inherited from the same origin, and that was seriousness. Very quickly, the lesson ended, and the students all left the classroom. They still had a large amount of training to do. Suddenly, Tang Tian said seriously, "No, we cannot waste it." Crane and Ling Su could not laugh anymore. The silver Aquarius cabinet could hold many things, and could greatly reduce the weight, but it was not without weight. The 3 silver Aquarius cabinets were all stuffed to the brim, and were extremely heavy. Tang Tian was pleasantly surprised. A tyrannical body was the best weapon. Some of the experts in Onyx Soul had tempered their bodies to the extreme, and were hard to be injured by blades and swords. They did not need light body techniques, and were as fast as lightning. That was because of the terrifying explosive power of their muscles. Spirit nuclei can be sold for money. The entire body of a star spirit beast is a treasure. With so many corpses, how much money would that be? Tang Tian said seriously. But he did not sleep in this unfamiliar environment. He needed someone to be on guard. He sat cross-legged and slowly revolved his true power. "Yes," Tang Chou replied solemnly. "Cough cough cough, wrong. At this time, my attention should be placed on the mysterious expert, and not be distracted by these 2 idiots." Bing's eyes flashed, and after thinking for a while, he said, "You make a plan first." There were only two possibilities for such a spectacular scene. As expected, one should not be afraid of a godlike opponent, but afraid of a pig-like teammate. To do bad things with a person like Ling Su, this kind of thing, had to be carefully considered in the future. Crane blushed with shame. Then what do we do? Crane's face congealed. No matter which possibility, it was extremely terrifying. Killing 8th and 9th level star spirit beasts like picking up grass, that person's power was so high, the three of them were definitely not his opponent. And if he was cruel and bloodthirsty, such a lunatic, no one was willing to provoke him. Who knew that the void dark flames and ice blue heart actually had such a miraculous use? In front of them, the corpses of the star spirit beasts could not be seen. I wonder how Uncle Bing and the rest are doing. Tang Tian was also extremely tired. 32 silver Aquarius cabinet was equivalent to 300 over corpses of star spirit beasts. Piling them up was like a mountain of meat. Even with his innate divine strength, he could not take it. After 2 hours, he opened his eyes, a look of joy flashing past his eyes. The 10 days of hard work was not in vain. His flesh was tempered even more thoroughly. The void dark flames and ice blue heart, one hot and one cold, under the alternating tempering, his flesh became even tougher, like a piece of extremely tough steel wire. Upon walking out of the cave, Ling Su and Crane could no longer endure it. They threw the silver Aquarius cabinet to the side, fell to the ground, and very quickly entered dreamland. Even Crane, who was always meticulous, could not care about being elegant or calm. Ling Su and Crane were already so tired that they were about to collapse. The two of them did not specialize in physical strength. Crane trained in noble sword techniques. When had he ever done hard labor? Ling Su's spear techniques were sharp, but he relied on the strength of his fingers. With such a tyrannical body, Tang Tian did not have any extravagant hopes, but a strong body, to a close-quarters combat expert, was extremely beneficial. Yes, master. Tang Chao's eyes flashed with an astonishing light aura. That place has a solid foundation of forging, and many martial spirit fragments. It is extremely suitable for mechanical spirit weapons like us. If we can occupy that place, we can quickly expand. Also, their local strength is not strong. But the two of them were too embarrassed to complain, because Tang Tian had a total of 32 silver Aquarius cabinet on him, more than the two of them added together. The two of them were proud and arrogant people. How could they admit defeat? They could only clench their teeth and endure it, but Tang Tian always felt that the two of them were crawling like turtles, and would occasionally mock and ridicule a Maori. That bastard was here. He could take everything by himself and so on. Crane coughed lightly, and righteously diverted Tang Tian's attention. Hey, you guys are going in the wrong direction. The main question is, who is the opponent? When did he enter the passage? What is his goal? These lessons were not arranged by Bing, but by Tang Cho himself, and his reason was sufficient. The era had been peaceful for too long. These students might not be lacking in terms of individual strength, but their understanding of war was a blank slate. Every silver Aquarius cabinet was stuffed with over 100 star spirit beast corpses. From the looks of it, it is not bad. But in terms of actual results, it needs to be tested in actual battles, Tang Cho said cautiously. But Bing felt that Tang Cho was doing well. Tang Chao's character was neither rushed nor slow, but he was meticulous and serious, and was smarter than Tang Yi. But it was good that the opponent did not have any enmity towards them. If not, they would have died long ago. Ling Su could not hold it in anymore. He held onto his stomach and ran to the side, laughing out loud. The other two looked at him at the same time, not understanding. It was equivalent to the two of them dragging over 100 star spirit beast corpses for the past 10 days. How could the two of them not collapse? On the platform, Tang Cho was teaching in an orderly manner, and the students below the platform were listening attentively. They did not look down on their teacher just because he was a spirit military leader. The continuous lessons made them admire this spirit military leader teacher, who had a good temper. The only thing that made them feel at ease was that the crazy young man and Ling Su were on the same level. Crane was about to think seriously, but his thoughts were interrupted by Tang Tian's cheers. Who did it? Ling Su could not help but ask. His gaze swept across the floor full of star spirit beast corpses, and felt a chill down his spine. It takes about half a year to form a basic fighting strength. Tang Cho said conservatively. That's right. Trying to slip past this godlike young man, that's just wishful thinking. Tang Tian raised his head, his face full of joy. With just you. Ling Su's face was filled with contempt, seeing Tang Tian's pig head. His heart felt extremely comfortable. Especially when Tang Tian did not realize it, he almost burst out laughing a few times. Speaking of that, he had to admire Crane, that gloomy fellow. He did not reveal any of his emotions. He was calm and collected. I have to be careful in the future. This little person looks dignified, but his stomach is full of evil tricks, even his heart might be black. These silver Aquarius cabinet were the spoils of war from the past battles, and their quality were all outstanding. He took them out one by one, and piled them up into a small hill. Bing was quiet for a moment and said, They are not our core army, you don't need to do so much. Tang Tian made a sweeping gesture towards his bosom. Put them all in. When the two of them saw the light coming in from the hole, they almost cried tears of joy. Crane calmed down. Tang Cho saw Bing and immediately bowed. Master. 2 weeks ago? Tang Tian counted with his fingers, silently calculating for a moment, and exclaimed, Aya, we were meditating at that time, no wonder we did not feel anything. If I was awake, I would definitely be able to catch him. The second possibility was that the opponent was cruel and bloodthirsty. Once he started fighting, he would habitually kill all living things. Chapter 372. What a fast sword! A blonde-haired young man exclaimed. He was handsome, with a head of dazzling golden hair. It was extremely eye-catching. His physique was sturdy and strong. His facial contours were deep eyes and a high nose, brimming with confidence, brimming with a sense of oppression. Tang Tian shouted excitedly, causing Crane, who was filled with sorrow, to raise his perspiring face. He was startled. Not curious. Crane replied coldly, wiping his perspiration, his footsteps becoming heavier. Thank you. Crane immediately thanked him. To the martial group, the way they handled this matter, they had to display the tyranny of the number one overlord under the heavens. Gui Xiang's heart was secretly cold. The opponent's sword was extremely light, it was extremely experienced. We will see. The middle-aged man said indifferently. I thought that coming here would be boring, but I never thought that it would be interesting. The blonde-haired young man laughed. If the other two's strength is also at this level, then it will be interesting. Kill them? Gui Xiang's face darkened, his heart sneering, such a big tone, it was just a bluff. And in the crowd, there were a few of his companions. Just the three of them wanted to kill him? Stop dreaming. Before his voice died away, his figure disappeared into thin air. Andromeda constellation was rather influential in northern skies 19 continents, and the Honorable Martial Alliance had a specialized person stationed there, Lu Rong. But he was just a fringe character, and did not have any background. He originally wanted to rely on Qiu Shan, but his strength was average, and Qiu Shan did not look up to him. What happened next caused him to be dumbstruck, but it also allowed him to see an opportunity. In the crowd, Lu Rong's entire body turned cold, as though he had fallen into an ice cellar. He did not even see how the opponent unleashed his sword. In such a situation, there was only one possibility: the opponent's strength far exceeded his. Gui Xiang sneered in his heart. Naturally there would be stronger people to deal with him. He carefully observed for a moment, then suddenly smacked his forehead. I remember, they are the three fellows from Lupus constellation. No wonder I felt that they looked familiar. And why are they here? Didn't the Yi family seal Lupus constellation? Don't tell me there's a star door that leads here? The middle-aged man's eyes lit up. Su Fan's face was ashen, the opponent's palm was imprinted on his chest, and the life in his body was quickly being extinguished. However, his heart was filled with grief and indignation. He pointed at the other party, his voice trembling. Gui Xiang's strength was very outstanding, and he was also very ambitious. As expected, he only needed to tempt him a little, and Gui Xiang couldn't wait to join him. Su Fan was startled, then became ecstatic. Could it be that an expert from Orion constellation or Leo constellation had arrived? So pitiful! Crane said insincerely, then said, "Let's hurry up and enter the city." Two fingers moved as fast as lightning, aiming straight for Su Fan's eyes. His voice stopped abruptly. His head was lifted up by a pillar of blood and rolled to the side. His body fell to the ground like a wooden stake. The moment they stepped into the city gates, Crane and Ling Su almost had tears streaming down their faces. On the way, Tang Tian asked in confusion, "Aren't you curious? You were blown up like that? Weren't all the experts of Andromeda constellation annihilated?" Ding. Lu Rong was cautious by nature, so he brought everyone to the Merchant Alliance's headquarters to investigate. Crane stopped a passerby and asked politely, "May I ask, where is the biggest trading organization here?" "The biggest trading organization?" the passerby said without hesitation. "Of course it's the Andromeda Commerce Alliance. Follow this road and walk forward, turn left at the end, it's the first shop." Could it be someone from Leo constellation? Crane. Gui Xiang did not expect someone to kill him in the middle of the road. Borrowing the force, his body turned in the air and returned to his original position. "This person looks familiar, I think I've seen him somewhere before." The middle-aged man frowned, revealing a pondering expression. Crane listened to the two of them quarrel helplessly, wiped his sweat, and looked at Ling Su with sympathy. "He is a wild beast, he can easily drink 32 bottles, and is still full of energy to quarrel with you. That is just a form of entertainment for his mind. You are tired like a dog, and are still wasting your precious energy on quarreling. What's the point?" The true power in Su Fan's body was in a mess, his life was extinguished, and he was powerless to resist. The sound of metal clashing suddenly came out. Su Fan quivered and immediately opened his eyes. A sword image flashed past his vision. The golden-haired young man was startled. "Could it be someone I know?" The two of them looked at each other, and saw the excitement in each other's eyes. Lu Rong started to plan, his strength was average, and he did not have any capable subordinates, so he could only place his thoughts on martial artists outside the group, and Gui Xiang was one of them. Leo constellation? That was too fast. Lu Rong was so scared that he did not dare to move. He had spent a lot of effort to find this path, and the other party also heard that he was familiar with Andromeda constellation, and thus made an exception to give him the chance. As for the powerful experts, no way. Crane and Ling Su, who wanted to be free immediately, said at the same time, determined as steel. "What's the fun in living like this? Are you not curious about the world at all? I understand, no wonder you guys can't become godlike young men, you guys are not curious about the world." Tang Tian chattered on. Gui Xiang was expressionless. "Su Air, do you still not understand the situation? Andromeda constellation will be destroyed very quickly. Angelina is crazy, she wants to drag the entire Andromeda constellation down with her. I will give you a chance if you pledge allegiance to Master." He had stayed in the martial group for a long time, and was very familiar with the way the martial group did things. Ling Su reacted, but did not say a word. But it seemed that he was not much better off. It was fine if his body was being destroyed, but his mental state was being destroyed by the two of them. Although Lupus constellation was sealed, but to Leo constellation, it was not a problem. "Let's continue walking forward, there will definitely be people. A pity we did not see Angelina." The golden-haired young man was regretful. "I really want to see how this woman will handle the situation." Ling Su's head was like a chicken pecking at rice, nodding his head continuously. May I know who you are? No one saw the sword clearly. Chie had said before, to treat the enemy as ruthless as the autumn wind sweeping the fallen leaves. He is from the Honorable Martial Alliance. Crane acted as though he did not hear Gui Xiang's words, and turned to look at Tang Tian and Ling Su. Life was so difficult, Crane's heart was filled with tears. Gui Xiang's face did not change, but he was happy in his heart. The higher-ups had already promised, if they completed the mission perfectly, they could enter the Martial Group, and fight for the Martial Group. The battle between the Honorable Martial Alliance and Leo Constellation had begun, and they definitely did not lack opportunities. If they were able to enter the Martial Group and gain some merits, then they would definitely soar in the future. Any star door was extremely valuable, and an unknown rising star door was even more valuable. Especially in a state of war, a rising star door that the enemy did not know about could possibly change the outcome of the war. Suddenly, a cold light flashed in front of him. There is a bit of the concept of wind. The middle-aged man beside him glanced at him, his expression calm. The maturity is still too shallow, but at this age it is still rare. Bullshit. Su Fan's heart was in pain, he trembled. Gui Lao San, the old master treated you well in the past, you wanted to go to Draco Constellation, the old master did not stop you, and even gave you travel expenses. Now that the old master's corpse is not even cold, you actually helped the enemy to kill your way here, I must be blind. Not good. Gui Xiang's face changed, he did not have time to react, and only felt a cold sensation on his neck. Following that, a pillar of blood appeared in his vision. He immediately reacted and screamed. No! A look of shame flashed past Gui Xiang's eyes, but immediately after, his face became even more gloomy and said indifferently, if the old master was here, why would he let you guys follow a little girl who does not know the immensity of heaven and earth? Su Fan, your eyes are truly blind. Since there is no use in keeping it, then I will help you take it. Expert. When the three of them rushed to the Fairy Commerce Alliance, they discovered that the entrance of the Fairy Commerce Alliance was completely surrounded. Sounds of intense fighting came out from inside, bang bang bang, in the blink of an eye, a few people were thrown out of the shop, their faces covered in blood. How is that possible? Seeing the person who attacked, Su Fan was even more certain, such a young and powerful martial artist could only be nurtured by Orion Constellation and Leo Constellation. Kill him. Tang Tian said as a matter of fact, the Honorable Martial Alliance, that was everyone's current enemy. Lu Rong's entire body trembled. His companions looked at him, their eyes filled with fear. He forced himself to calm down and shook his head slightly. The situation had changed. The opponent's strength had already exceeded the limits of what he could handle. On a tall building not far away, two people were discussing. Why? Such a huge crater, what kind of powerful explosion, to be able to cause such a huge crater, it is truly too shocking. Tang Tian's face was full of surprise. In front. Quickly look. Honorable Martial Alliance. The crowd immediately went into an uproar, all of their faces were filled with anger. But Gui Xiang's display of strength caused the spectators to be angry, but they did not dare to say anything. This is so infuriating. Luckily, Gui Lao San, I never thought that you would actually become an Honorable Martial Alliance lackey. Ling Su's crazy laughter came out. Ha 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 ha. We are saved. What is human hair? Hair? Crane pretended not to hear, he wanted to conserve his energy. I'm hungry, let's eat first. Tang Tian was drooling. This city seems to have been bombed. Tang Tian pointed to the scorched black part of the city. Look over there. He did not expect to meet such a powerful martial artist. The experts of Andromeda Constellation were almost completely annihilated. Angelina had consolidated close to 70% of the businesses in Andromeda City to form the Andromeda Commerce Alliance, and had fallen into a situation where there were no experts holding down the fort. In the past, Su Fan was not considered a true martial artist in Andromeda City, but now, from the headquarters of the Commerce Alliance, he was in dire straits. Ling Su, sigh. In the distance, a city appeared in front of them. The benefits and treatment of the Honorable Martial Alliance were first class in Heaven's Road, but the conditions to enter were extremely harsh. Compared to the Honorable Martial Alliance, Leo Constellation was like a poor beggar. They had nothing. To Gui Xiang, it was a battle without any suspense, and the Honorable Martial Alliance would definitely win. Do you want me to go? Ling Su was eager to try. Shut up, idiot. We have already walked for 7 hours, and we have not even seen a single strand of human hair. Chapter 373. Crane took a deep breath. Our energy beasts are more than what everyone can imagine. But, can I first ask a question? Upon entering, the old lady was attracted by the energy beast corpses placed in the freezer. She shot forward and said excitedly, "Energy beasts! They truly are energy beasts!" She turned and gave a few orders, and in the next moment, a waiter holding a tray and an old man came to the three of them. "Please speak." Master Li forced himself to calm down. Angelina immediately said, "This is the resource we urgently need. We are willing to buy it for 30 million star coins." Angelina felt that it was not necessary. She turned her head and asked Tang Tian and the other two, "I wonder how much this energy beast will sell for?" Madame Yu's spirit was roused. "Master, this energy beast's fur can definitely be made into a soft armor. The leftover scraps can be made into a pair of boots. It will definitely not be a problem." If it was only that, then it would definitely make people sigh in admiration, but the three of them had silver Aquarius cabinets hanging all over their bodies. It looked extremely weird. "One spear to death," Ling Su said coldly. Madame Yu immediately fainted. Angelina was slightly better. She held on to her chest with all her might, as though her heart was about to jump out. "I am the bloody scythe in his hand." Qiu Jun laughed in his heart. He nodded his head. "Not a bad time." Crane bowed slightly. "You are too polite." "Oh my God, why is my heart beating so fast?" Master Li's throat was dry. He carefully extended out 2 fingers, and said with difficulty, 20? Crane said, "We do not know anything about these. Please just name a price. I believe you will not cheat us." "Don't worry about it." Angelina smiled. "Seeing you guys so engrossed, I think you guys already have a plan." Sometimes, he always felt that his junior brother was a demon. Angelina immediately said, "No problem. 8th level star rocks." The three of them were shocked. Energy beast? Tang Tian and Ling Su were startled by the unfamiliar name. Many. Crane's heart was beating fast. He did not expect the energy beasts to be so valuable. Thinking about the silver Aquarius cabinet hanging on everyone's body, even Crane, who viewed money as dirt, felt a burst of heat. Crane reacted and waved his hand. 15 million is enough. Angelina thought for a while and said sincerely, 38th level star rocks to me is not much. The three of you have helped me resolve a crisis and redeemed my losses, far exceeding 60 million star coins. I don't know how to repay the three of you. If I fail this time, these riches will not belong to me. If I succeed, what's 60 million? Please accept it. Qiu Jun did not care about him, and continued. The first and second branches have agreed to hand over the authority. The few clan elders also think that the current situation is unstable, and the Sima family needs an even more outstanding patriarch to handle the complicated situation. Could there be 100 of them? Master Li began to tremble. Crane took out a star spirit beast corpse. We want to take a look. This type of star spirit beast corpse, do you guys buy it? Angelina did not have much choice. The reinforcements from Leo constellation and Orion constellation had not arrived, and the current Andromeda constellation was defenseless. Father's plateau army was also in trouble. They had just experienced a mutiny, and the traitor had already confessed. The mastermind was the Honorable Martial Alliance's people. The mutiny caused the army to suffer huge losses. The army had to stop and stabilize the situation. Master? Crane's eyes flashed a strange look. In any constellation, there was only one person who was worthy of the two words, and that was the constellation master of the constellation. A voice interrupted her. Madame Yu raised her head angrily, and when she saw the person who spoke, she jumped in fright. Master, please forgive me. Tang Tian was furious. This Honorable Martial Alliance is not a thing. Don't tell me there are 50 of them? Master Li's voice trembled. Madame Yu subconsciously tightened her grip on her skirt. Angelina's hands covered her voluptuous chest. One silver Aquarius cabinet had over 100 of them, one for 15 million star coins. I have 13 silver Aquarius cabinet, help. I don't have enough fingers, I can't count. What a pity, I can't join in. Sima Zhao's face was filled with regret as he stuffed a piece into his mouth, ignoring the crumbs all over his body. He mumbled, Hey, can you understand my pain? These people are already fighting, and fighting so happily, but I am still here wasting time with these old and young masters. Oh my God, why is it so hard to do something? Angelina then sized up the three of them seriously, and her eyes lit up. The three of them had different temperaments, and each had their own specialties. Crane was dressed in black. He was cultured and refined, giving off a refined feeling, causing people to feel extremely close to him. Ling Su was dressed in a snow-white robe, his gaze sharp, and his heroic spirit threatening. Out of the three, Tang Tian looked the most ordinary, He looked around curiously. Seeing that Angelina was about to speak, he spoke first. How many do you need? Sigh. Tang Tian and Ling Su immediately turned their heads, and stared straight at Crane. Before they arrived, the old lady's sharp voice came out. Someone caught the energy beasts? Where is it? Where is it? Upon entering, Angelina saw the three of them, and without hesitation, bowed and thanked them. Thank you three for lending a hand, Angelina is extremely grateful. Ordinary chambers of commerce wouldn't sell tier 8 star stones. They were simply too expensive. 7th level star rocks cost 500,000 star coins each, and for 8th level star rocks, the price would rise to 2 million star coins each. 15 million star coins. Then let it be soaked in blood. Nonsense. The old lady looked at him. If there is an energy beast, how can this old lady not come? Come, let me see. Good, very good, it is old enough. This piece of skin can definitely be made into a soft armor, and can even be made into boot. Crane pointed to the energy beast and asked, Why is it worth 15 million star coins? In the hall, everyone sucked in cold air in unison. The old man who had just arrived saw the corpse of the star spirit beast in Crane's hands, and blurted out, Energy beasts! Yes, we have already declared war on the Honorable Martial Alliance. Angelina did not hide anything, and told them everything that had happened recently. Sima Zhao smiled. He stood up in satisfaction, and clapped his hands. Finally I heard a piece of good news. Yes. Madame Yu, how is it? Angelina stood up, and bowed to the three of them with a solemn expression. Angelina looked at the old man, who spoke without hesitation. This energy beast's quality is extremely outstanding, its market price is around 15 million star coins. Yes. Angelina's face revealed a look of joy. Everyone present could not help but reveal a look of joy. Master Li was the master in charge of the Merchant Alliance, and was well versed in the market price. 10? Master Li licked his lips. Crane was shocked. These are energy beasts? Yes. The three of them nodded their heads. This is just a small token of my appreciation. I hope that the three esteemed guests will not reject it. Tang Tian and Ling Su tactfully kept quiet. After a while, another old lady in a brown leather apron hurried over. How many do you have? Master Li was the first to react. He felt that his throat was dry. Haha, stupid granny, you're here too. The old man laughed. Was there anyone more powerful than him in the world? Did you offend the Honorable Martial Alliance? Tang Tian asked curiously. Angelina's gaze also turned to Crane. Upon hearing that, Angelina, who was about to speak, opened her mouth in shock, but no sound came out. Master Li and Madam Yu looked at the three of them in shock. We appreciate your kind intentions, but these 8th-level star rocks are truly too precious. It's nothing much, please do not worry about it. Crane's tone was gentle, but the gentle words revealed a sense of determination, causing Angelina to be surprised. The three of them were shocked. Even Crane, who was always calm, could not help but open his mouth wide. Ling Su, who was half dead from exhaustion, in that moment, all his fatigue seemed to have disappeared without a trace. But now, she knew that she had to hold on, no matter what method she had to use. She caressed the smooth and cold fur of the energy beast in satisfaction. The faint energy undulation made her feel extremely comfortable. Qiu Zhijun did not say anything. Quick, quick, quick. Quickly go get the freezer box. How can you waste the energy beasts like this? The old man ordered his subordinates to get the freezer box while grumbling. He very consciously took responsibility for this kind of situation. Crane declined to comment. His mind was much more powerful than the other two. He did not comment and smiled. We did not expect to meet with such a thing. The main reason we are here is to get rid of some things on our bodies. Crane explained. I have only read about it in books. Energy beasts are a very special type of star spirit beasts. They are bred in places with extremely dense energy. Their bodies are extremely close to pure energy, and have a wide range of uses. That is all I know. Angelina and the rest could not suppress the ecstasy on their faces. Then I will accept it. Tang Tian beamed with joy as he swept the 8th-level star rocks into his bosom. There were a total of 38th-level star rocks in the tray, which was equivalent to 60 million star coins. When the tray's lid was opened, a small pile of sparkling star rocks appeared in front of the three of them. The dense energy undulation immediately flooded the entire hall. The three of them who were in a row nodded their heads at the same time, their movements in unison. Yes. The three of them nodded their heads. He knew that Angelina wanted to use this method to thank them, but they did not like to take advantage of others. Angelina shook her head. If not for the three of you, my Commerce Alliance would have to close its doors today. The joking and unruly face suddenly became sharp. Even the smile at the corner of his mouth became as sharp as a knife. Then the plan that we have prepared can begin to be implemented. Angelina suddenly missed her mysterious master. If he was here, she would not need to worry about her safety. Not only safety, she did not need to worry about anything, as long as she listened to his orders. Seeing that Angelina said so, Crane did not persist. Ling Su was completely indifferent. Chapter 374. Angelina said warmly, Then I will have to trouble Clan Elder to discuss with the various chairmen to come up with a plan. The power of the constellation was extremely precious. It represented the life force of the constellation itself, and was controlled by the master of the constellation. Only those with special contributions could enjoy the power of the constellation. Her first sentence seemed to be irrelevant, but the hearts of everyone present couldn't help but shiver involuntarily. Angelina had a smile on her face, but in her cold eyes there was not a trace of a smile. Hearing that, she walked into the hall. Angelina turned and asked the 10th clan elder. Angelina leisurely walked through the crowd, walked to the most empty seat, sat down, and chuckled. This time, I have gathered everyone here, is to discuss about the energy beasts. If anyone has any thoughts, you can speak your mind. There is no need to hold back. 100 energy beasts was 1.5 billion star coins. When Angelina appeared, everyone's quarreling quickly calmed down. Of course, the star power has a fixed amount. Who uses more, who has less, there needs to be a rule. Clan Elder, let's discuss it later. Angelina said indifferently. The so-called fairy weaving technique is to use the materials that contain energy, to weave and fuse together, To make fabric, the process is complicated. Andromeda Constellation's inheritance does not have much of an advantage in battle, but the control of true power is exquisite. Adding that there are many women, it developed the fairy weaving technique. The fairy weaving technique is renowned in Heaven's Road, and an outstanding fairy weaving technique can be compared to a star treasure, just like how Fornax constellation is good at forging. Tang Tian, who was not muddle-headed, suddenly became difficult to handle. They have lost their leader. In the East, this is called a group of dragons without a leader. Before a new leader appears, there will be a transition period, and at this time, the original second-in-command will take over as the temporary leader. Do you know what characteristics the second-in-command has? Angelina's snow-white wrist supported her chin as though she was thinking, as though she was talking to herself. To them, it was an endless stream of star coins. No one made a sound. They were not satisfied with Angelina's plan, but at the same time, they were not dissatisfied. Crane understood Tang Tian. Upon hearing Tang Tian's tone, he knew that Tang Tian was definitely planning something. What is everyone doing? Having energy beasts is a good thing. Why are you quarreling in your own nest? Angelina laughed. Plateau Army will return to Fairy City in 2 weeks. Tang Tian exclaimed, "Isn't that creating secret treasures?" Madame Yu and Master Li couldn't suppress the joy on their faces. After receiving 1.5 billion, the three of them could not hide their joy. "Yes," Angelina said solemnly. "The speed at which a constellation nurtures treasures is extremely slow, but the power of the constellation is extremely dense, and the treasures formed from this method are extremely outstanding. Moreover, it has another advantage. If the quality of the fabric is very similar, then the secret treasure formed will also be very similar." Angelina knew that she had to give him some carrots, so she continued, "Speaking of energy beasts, you reminded me. The previous generations of constellation masters only nourished the energy beasts. This was understandable, since the star power was limited, and there was no need to waste it. But now that Andromeda constellation's star power has accumulated a lot, and we are also in such a predicament, so we must first strengthen ourselves and survive. I've decided that from this month onwards, I'll take a portion of the star power and grant it to the Commerce Alliance." The 10th Elder nodded. "Master's method is very good." In the blink of an eye, the noisy hall was empty. "Who doesn't have star coins? Humph, do you have weavers?" Without weavers, the energy beasts are just piled up in the freezer, and are just a pile of frozen meat. Whoever has more weavers will be able to distribute more energy beasts. That is the most reasonable. If there was star power bestowed, then the weaver's level could directly increase by 1 level, and their improvement would be even faster. The quality of the fabric would be even more outstanding, and the rate of quality products would increase greatly. In their subconscious, they need a leader. And you must become their leader, and do not give them the power to hesitate. Angelina suddenly laughed, but her gaze slowly became cold. She unconsciously imitated him. That cold gaze always made her lose the will to resist. The 10th Elder was somewhat gratified, although Angelina was ranked 3rd in the past, but her recent performance made the 10th Elder look at her in a different light. He knew Angelina's intention, but to him, it was the right thing to do. According to what the other party said, using the fabric to nourish the star treasures, wouldn't it be like mechanical spirit weapons? The originally quiet hall immediately exploded. The remaining energy beasts in the hands of the guests will be purchased by the Commerce Alliance. Any businesses that privately touch them will be severely punished. The interests of the Commerce Alliance is everyone's interests. Harming the Commerce Alliance's interests is harming everyone's interests. And the quota for each family will be linked to the investment. Clan Elder, what do you think? Crane's question was what Tang Tian and Ling Su had in their hearts. Even Tang Tian, who suggested to bring them, was shocked by the price. 15 million was enough to buy a decent silver-grade star artifact, or even a silver-grade South Heaven artifact. Angelina did not hide anything and continued. Out of all the materials, the energy beasts are high quality. They are formed from pure energy, and the fabrics weaved from them are of outstanding quality. But the true reason why they are worth 1,500 star coins is because the fabrics weaved from them, after being nourished by the star power, can transform into fairy treasures, and are treasures grade. 100 energy beasts was like throwing 100 heavy bombs into Andromeda City, causing all the businesses in the city to go crazy. When everyone heard the news, their first reaction was, "It must be fake news, energy beasts were so rare, how could 100 of them come out at once?" Who in the Andromeda City did not know the value of the energy beast. But when the person in charge of the businesses heard the news, ran to the Commerce Alliance headquarters, and saw the neatly arranged energy beasts in the freezer, he exploded. At the door, Angelina stopped in her tracks, quietly listening for a while. Her face did not have any anger, but instead revealed a smile. To her, these energy beasts were a great opportunity that could not be any better. What kind of logic is this? The opponent had more than 100 energy beasts in their hands. We have not found a hotel yet. Crane smiled and shook his head. The three of them were then enlightened. The group of people quarreled until their necks were red. Some of the more violent people immediately rolled up their sleeves. The 100 energy beasts will be produced by the Commerce Alliance's weavers, and in the end, the star treasures that are nourished will be distributed according to everyone's contribution. No matter how many energy beasts you have, we are willing to eat them all. Angelina said without hesitation. She could hear that the three of them had a large number of energy beasts. Such an opportunity was extremely rare, and she would definitely not miss it. Angelina bowed and returned the greeting. "You are too courteous." Tang Tian and the other two perked up their ears, their faces full of curiosity. He was absolutely right. Angelina looked at the cautious expressions on their faces, and could not help but admire her own master's judgment even more. Angelina was very satisfied with the result. She could clearly feel their reverence, and it made her indescribably happy. Angelina and the rest could not help but laugh. She explained. "It must be your first time coming to Andromeda Constellation. Andromeda Constellation's trade is flourishing, but in terms of geographical position, it does not have an advantage. The reason why there are so many businesses is because of our unique fairy weaving technique." Many of their faces revealed embarrassed expressions. This was the Commerce Alliance headquarters. 1.5 billion star coins was not a small amount, but it was still there. Angelina immediately called for the general accountant and paid 1.5 billion star coins, and Master Li also finished inspecting the 100 energy beasts. They were all of outstanding quality. Bullshit. Why would your Li family give out 2 billion? If there is meat, everyone can eat it together? You have 2 billion, who doesn't? Command them, feed them, and they will get used to obeying you. Angelina was also not clear on this, but Madame Yu, who was at the side, immediately replied. The entire process requires roughly 3 months or so. What consumes more time is the nurturing at the back. The weaving at the front only requires roughly 2 weeks or so. Angelina arranged for an exclusive manor by the lake for the three of them. The environment was beautiful. It was her family's residence, just that she rarely stayed there. The facilities and decorations inside were extremely exquisite. Angelina even specially assigned 20 servants to clean the entire manor once again. Even the floor was so clean that one could see one's reflection. The originally quiet hall became even quieter, to the point that even the sound of a pin dropping could be heard. Bing had never been interested in star treasures. The reason was simple. The quality of star treasures were all different, and their effects were all different. Even if it was a star treasure from the same constellation, there would be very few that were exactly the same. For a large-scale promotion, this was a fatal weakness. But mechanical spirit weapons were much more balanced and more suitable for armies. That's right. Angelina was surprised. Such a number far exceeded her imagination. Energy beasts were not cabbages, they could be bought whenever they wanted. Her mind moved quickly, she knew that the most important thing was to keep these people. He snatched the topic. For such a woven star treasure, how long would it take for it to form? The fairy weaving technique itself was an application of Andromeda constellation's martial techniques, and was closely related to star power. After the bustling calmed down, Angelina's eyes flashed a trace of fatigue. Let's sell 100 first. Tang Tian thought for a while and said. Compared to making decisions, they are more used to giving advice and assistance. Their obedience is greater than their independence. Angelina was elated, she stood up and bowed. The three of you are our esteemed guests, and it is our duty to entertain our guests. Leave this matter to me. I hope the three of you will give us this opportunity. Everyone then chuckled, and the atmosphere became harmonious. Angelina rushed to the Commerce Alliance headquarters, and upon entering the courtyard, she heard the intense quarrel. She truly envied his tenacious mental state. Although the Han family has met with some setbacks, but just a mere 2 billion can still be taken out. Star Treasure Army? The low and cold voice was extremely clear in Angelina's mind, like a brand. Yes. The 10th clan elder sighed in admiration, then said, Everyone, please follow me. After settling the three of them down, she hurriedly left. The 10th clan elder laughed. Everyone, don't make things difficult for me later. This time, no one spoke. I wonder which hotel the three of you are staying in? Angelina asked eagerly. No matter how much we have to pay, we have to take down the energy beasts in their hands. My Li family is willing to pay 2 billion. The dazed Tang Tian quivered. He had acutely sensed the crux of the matter. Crane knew the rules, and looked at Tang Tian and Ling Su, seeing that they did not care. He agreed. Then I will have to trouble you. Chapter 375. That's right. Tang Tian was enlightened. Angelina carefully read the report in her hands, her beautiful eyes filled with a strange look. Lupus constellation, the three of them actually came from Lupus constellation. Because Leo constellation is much stronger than us, once Andromeda constellation falls into Leo constellation's hands, then other than forming an alliance with them, we have no other choice. This kind of alliance will only exist in name, and we will only become cannon fodder. Bing explained. Andre had a head of dazzling golden hair. His actions were decisive, similar to his father Lei Ang's style, and was deeply liked by Lei Ong. Since young, he had displayed extraordinary talent, and what made people happy was that his talent as a military leader was equally outstanding. When he was in the Lion King Military General Institute, he was the most dazzling genius in the academy, and his results in the military chess deduction class were unparalleled. He only used 2 years and completed his studies, and entered the army to practice. In history, there were very few spirit military leaders left behind by famous generals, and all of these famous generals were all powerful people, and most of them held high positions, so why would they allow their martial spirits to be enslaved by others? Bullshit, it's written all over your face, Crane thought to himself. Don't tell me you don't think that's a good idea? Tang Tian was flabbergasted. Suddenly Bing thought of something, and asked suspiciously, You don't look like someone who is interested in armies, why are you suddenly interested in armies? Hey, I'm not done yet. Andre was extremely satisfied with Angelina's attitude, and at the same time, Angelina was extremely satisfied with Andre's attitude. Andre stood with his hands behind his back. Hearing that, he laughed. Your Majesty, what are you saying? It is Andre's honor. If every constellation master was as handsome as your Majesty, then the world would definitely be peaceful. Father heard about Her Majesty Asda's matter, and before I set off, he specially reminded me to take good care of Andromeda constellation. Andre, who sat down, had a solemn expression. Father said, Andromeda constellation is a friend of our Leo constellation, and is an honorable martial alliance. To treat our friends so brutally, the entire Leo constellation will definitely not allow it. Angelina's eyes moved. If even Leo constellation is considered a rural place, then where should we Andromeda constellation go? Angelina was shocked. Is Leo constellation finally here? Tang Tian rubbed his chin. That makes sense. Andre's face revealed a radiant smile. The textiles of Andromeda constellation have always been the best in Heaven's Road, especially the textiles made from energy beasts, which can be nurtured into treasures. I heard that Andromeda constellation obtained 100 energy beasts. I wonder if Your Majesty can provide 100? I believe that with these 100 star treasures, Andromeda constellation will be impregnable. The spirit military leader in Tang Tian's hands was indeed powerful. When he was alive, he was definitely not a nobody. Why? Isn't Leo constellation an enemy of the Honorable Martial Alliance? Tang Tian did not understand. We have so many energy beasts, if we can make them into textiles, or star treasures, we can completely arm an army. Tang Tian had an expression of, I am very far-sighted. Angelina sat up straight. She knew that Andre was representing Lion King Leong to declare his position. Her expression was equally dignified. Thank you, Lion King Leong. Andromeda constellation has gone through a crisis, and has deeply understood that to the entire Heaven's Road, to fight against the Honorable Martial Alliance, such a tyrannical organization, only under the leadership of Lion King Leong, who has the ability and responsibility, can we succeed. Tang Tian also laughed foolishly. Angelina's face revealed an enchanting smile. Andromeda constellation is after all a small constellation, our vision is limited, and we still need Leo constellation's guidance. And those astonishing numbers of energy beasts most likely had something to do with the starry door. Lupus constellation had never heard of producing energy beasts, and needless to say, Andromeda constellation, the energy beasts had long been captured clean. The two of them had witnessed Crane killing Gui Xiang, and recognized Tang Tian and the rest, and guessed that there was such a starry door. After investigating in secret, they quickly found out the location, but what they did not expect was that there was actually a barracks there. The smile on Bing's face disappeared. Southern Cross constellation. How long has it been? Angelina covered her mouth and laughed. Sixth Prince is truly humorous. Quickly come in. Andromeda constellation is a rural place. I hope your highness does not mind. Suddenly, a servant rushed in from outside. Master, Leo constellation's sixth prince Andre requests an audience. Star Treasure Army. No one has ever created one before. If we are able to create one, it will definitely be very powerful. Tang Tian's eyes lit up. Crane was helpless. But have you ever thought that the cost of maintaining an army is very high? Since we cannot avoid it, then we can only fight. Tang Tian's expression was serious, but his tone was calm. Regardless of who it is, no one can stop me. The smile on Tang Tian's face disappeared, and he said seriously, once Leo constellation and the Honorable Martial Alliance start a war, Heaven's Road will be filled with the flames of war. I have checked, on the road from Andromeda constellation to Southern Cross constellation, we will definitely have to pass through the war zone, and we will most likely have to kill our way through. Behind her came Tang Tian's cries of unwillingness. She stood up and walked out. I will go welcome them. What made her even more surprised was that Lupus constellation and the Honorable Martial Alliance were enemies, and Lupus constellation and Andromeda constellation were natural allies. Andre laughed. Speaking of rural places, our Leo constellation is the real rural place. 20 years ago, it was definitely a barren land. Bing was cautious. I do not know much about star treasures. Whether or not your idea can be implemented, I am unable to give an accurate opinion. But if you have the same standard, in theory it can be done. I do not know what Leo constellation's army is like. If not, I can use it as a reference. You can first form a group of guards to test it out, not too many, just 10 people will do. Ling Su was already confused by the two of them, and he straightforwardly turned and left. Goodbye. Angelina's reaction is fast. Andre laughed. Let's go, there is nothing more to see, let us go and meet the new master of Andromeda constellation. When Angelina saw Andre, her face blossomed into a bright smile. Angelina thought that Leo constellation would send someone over, but I did not expect Sixth Prince to personally come. I am truly overwhelmed by the favor. There is an expert behind Andromeda constellation. Bing's eyes flashed with light. Angelina is definitely not willing to be controlled by Leo constellation. I have already let Tang Yi lead the Lupus army to occupy the season's field waterway exit. There is an army camp. Andre was surprised. He heard that Angelina was only the third successor, and to be able to obtain the recognition of the fairy hoop was completely an accident. But from Angelina's current performance, it was completely watertight, and did not look like a newbie at all. That is a pity. Andre's face congealed and spat out 4 words. The law is strict. Crane could be considered to be from a prestigious family, but his thinking was still that of a pure martial artist, and to him, an army was still relatively foreign. To him, those who liked to torment armies were all ambitious fellows, fighting for hegemony of the world. No matter how he looked at it, it did not seem to be related to a crazy young man. The Battle of Lupus Constellation was widely spread, and as one of the few army battles in recent years, almost all the military leaders would meticulously study it. Andre was naturally not an exception, but the Lupus army in front of him, compared to the images, had obvious improvements. Aha, as expected of Crane, to be able to see it so quickly. Tang Tian laughed. Both parties sat down, and the attendants served tea and snacks. Andre was slightly envious. Bing looked at Tang Tian's serious face. Without the usual joking, it was as tough as steel. Angelina's face changed, and became serious. She then remembered, although Lupus constellation was just a southern sky constellation, but compared to the current Andromeda constellation, it was much stronger. To be able to cause Yi Zhaogu to return with heavy injuries, no matter where it was placed, it was extremely dazzling. Andre was shocked at their speed of improvement. Immediately go and check the place where they first appeared. How is it? Yuan Ji asked softly. His mission this time was to be responsible for the Sixth Prince's safety. He had followed the Sixth Prince for 5 years. Other than being responsible for his safety, he was also in charge of being the Sixth Prince's sparring partner and guiding the Sixth Prince's martial technique. Tang Tian's luck was truly ridiculously good, and no one knew where he got it from. What are you up to this time? Crane asked coldly. But the two of them knew it was just the beginning. The underling immediately complied. The two of them disappeared into the forest. Bing did not care much about the Star Treasure Army. To him, it was too foreign. He turned and said, I have seen the information that Bell has gathered on Andromeda constellation. Their situation is not good. Andromeda constellation is our only exit. We cannot let it land in the hands of the Honorable Martial Alliance, and it is best not to let it land in the hands of Leo constellation. After hearing what you said, I am starting to look forward to fighting with those famous generals. Bing laughed out loud. Andre's body leaned forward and thanked Angelina. Thank you for your Majesty's trust. Andromeda constellation has a long history and has always been the cornerstone of Northern Sky's 19 continents. Andromeda constellation has enough ability to take on more responsibilities and display a greater effect. Tang Tian returned to Three Spirits City and told Bing about his thoughts. Tang Tian was confident. I have money. Angelina was excited. Lupus constellation was already sealed, but Tang Tian and the other two actually entered Andromeda constellation. That meant that there was a star door between Lupus constellation and Andromeda constellation. The strength of the Lupus army soldiers were not enough to enter his eyes. In Leo constellation, such martial artists did not have the qualifications to enter the army, and could not even enter the reserves. But this weak army displayed outstanding discipline and coordination ability. Crane then remembered that this guy was rich. I am so stupid to actually talk about costs with a tyrant. Crane, who was shot in the chest, was speechless, and straightforwardly turned and left. "Goodbye!" The two of them quickly realized. A few martial artists were approaching them with vigilance. André looked at the barracks not far away. The surroundings of the barracks had traces of being plowed. It was obvious that the barracks in front of them was newly built. Yuan Ji was surprised by André's evaluation. His expression suddenly changed, and said softly, "Someone is coming." Crane was perspiring in cold sweat. "Lupus constellation, is it not enough for you to torment an army? This is not a question of whether it is good or not." Crane did not know whether to laugh or cry. Angelina's anger surged. It was a blatant robbery, and suddenly his words surfaced in her mind. His tone was sonorous and powerful, without any sloppiness. It was extremely domineering. Chapter 376. Tang Tian borrowed the force to jump up. The blade aura that was out of control swept past his body, entering the ground, causing a cloud of dust to rise up. "If Leo Constellation tries to ask for anything, reject him firmly. He needs you." Tang Tian's movements were as fast as lightning. His left hand that was already on the martial artist's waist suddenly released strength, like a windmill. He threw the martial artist towards the two of them. "Why can't we retreat?" Where did Angelina find the courage to reject him? Bloom, Ghost King Ing. Leaping over the bridge. Honorable martial alliance. It was as if the martial artist's true power had invaded his body, and he could not speak, and could only watch as he flew towards his comrades, his face overwhelmed with shock. At the moment of life and death, Tang Tian's potential suddenly erupted. In the dazzling silver light, he activated the wind concealment step. It was his first time using the spiral energy's sticky word technique. The blade aura was like snow, without any obstructions. It slashed the flying object apart. He realized that he had made a mistake. There was absolutely no need to create a brand new army, because the Lupus Army's soldiers had pitiful amounts of treasures. Angelina's servant was too flustered. The three people he mentioned was actually only Tang Tian. Ling Su did not want to waste time on anything other than training. Crane was worried about the mountain of silver Aquarius cabinets, which was enough to buy the entire heavenly crane constellation. Tang Tian, who had just escaped from danger, was once again in danger. André leisurely sipped on his tea, waiting for Tang Tian and the other two to arrive. "Why?" André suddenly stood up, his eyes staring. "Where?" The sword martial artist was shocked. The two of them who had not landed on the ground heard the gust of wind coming towards them, and jumped in fright. The sword-wielding martial artist dodged to the side, while the blade-wielding martial artist's reaction was slower. He bellowed, brazenly slashing with his blade. "Be careful!" "Who?" It was the sword martial artist who had attacked, but Tang Tian seemed to have sensed it. He moved horizontally in mid-air, raising the blade martial artist to clash with the sword tip. However, what he never expected was that the slash at the back of his neck would suddenly turn into a claw. He only felt his neck tighten, and a strong force came through, causing the saber light to immediately dissipate. The sword martialist was shocked. His hand trembled, and the tip of his sword was almost deflected. Unexpectedly, he was ambushed as soon as he reached the bridge. The sword martialist was in tears. Instead of advancing, he retreated. Tang Tian, who was in midair, suddenly froze in place. He raised his head, the killing intent in his eyes almost tangible. "Be careful!" It was only then that the saber martialist saw who it was. He was shocked, third bro. With one successful move, Tang Tian became even more excited. His intuition became sharper and sharper. Before his opponent could react, he used his right palm, which was tightly placed on his opponent's fist, as a fulcrum. His body spun around like a pendulum and pressed into his opponent's embrace. "Thank you, Uncle Yuan." André calmed down. His first priority was to ensure Angelina's safety. From the looks of it, Andromeda constellation was much more important than Lupus constellation. Moreover, He was very confident in Yuan Ji's strength. Yuan Ji, who had his eyes half closed, also opened his eyes, a cold glint flashing past. Tang Tian did not need to think to know who it was. He was extremely familiar with the martial techniques sects of the Honorable Martial Alliance. The fist martialist was first surprised, then immediately became overjoyed. The opponent did not escape. He bellowed, and without hesitation, he welcomed Tang Tian's fist and punched out. The fist martialist only saw a blur in front of him. Tang Tian's figure was like a ghost that barged into his embrace. He lost all color in his face. Before he could react, his chest trembled, and he lost control of the true power in his body. He tried his best to raise his head, and his gaze followed the 10 beautiful fireflies. Tang Tian's eyes suddenly revealed a fierce look. Since when was this godlike young man afraid of a head-on clash? The anticipated intense clash did not happen. The Honorable Martial Alliance fist martialist only felt that his fist had landed in a swamp. The opponent's ghost claw was stuck to his fist. The dense fist aura was like a raging wave, suddenly arriving. If the situation was not urgent, he would not take such a risk. But at that moment, he could not care about anything else. Angelina's face did not reveal any clues. Andre suddenly laughed. That's true. Then I wonder if I can meet the 3 guests from Lupus Constellation and purchase a few energy beasts? True power flowed through his back, and the plucking technique was suddenly released. Tang Tian's mind was enlightened. The opponent's chi was locked onto him. No matter where he ran, he would not be able to escape from the range of the opponent's sword. The feeling of being able to change from one's heart was truly captivating. The Honorable Martial Alliance's famous martial technique, a Great Honorable Fist. This fist technique was created by a senior from the Honorable Martial Alliance. It was a martial technique that had the qualifications to be called unique. The middle-tier martial artists in the Honorable Martial Alliance had a wide range of training. The guards that Angelina sent were not the opponent's match. In the blink of an eye, they were all killed. Tang Tian saw that the situation was not good. Without saying anything, he immediately rushed into a shop by the side of the street. She took a deep breath and smiled like a flower. I will send someone to invite the 3 guests. Awakening blood meridians and star treasures, such an army would definitely be very powerful. Angelina smiled. With your Highness's words, Angelina can rest assured. A fist rapidly enlarged in his eyes. The difference is, you cannot retreat, but they can. The blade martial artist seemed to have awoken from a dream. At the crucial moment, he displayed his shrewd and ruthless side. He completely ignored Tang Tian's slash and swung his blade backwards. An earth-shattering power came from behind him. Tang Tian felt as though he was rammed by a charging rhinoceros. He felt a sweetness in his throat as he spat out a mouthful of blood. His entire being flew forward at an even faster speed. The opponent's fist aura released a dense killing intent. Like a raging wave, it surged towards Tang Tian's face. Tang Tian was not afraid at all. Instead, his face was filled with excitement. Success. Tang Tian wanted to go to the weaving workshop to see how the Andromeda textiles were made. Although Bing held a cautious attitude, but it was not enough to sway Tang Tian's thoughts. If all the energy beasts were sold, it would be an astonishing sum of money. But Tang Tian did not lack money. Although it would make people jealous, but Tang Tian gradually understood. There were many times when money was not everything. Angelina's heart trembled. Andre had said, Lupus Constellation. That meant that they had already investigated Tang Tian. Andre was surprised that Angelina was so straightforward. In his mind, Angelina would definitely not be willing for him to interact with Tang Tian and the rest. But very quickly, he reacted. Energy beasts were good things for Andromeda constellation, but to other constellations, they were not very useful. The group of old men from Leo constellation were professionals in killing and arson. Asking them to play with needles and embroidery was just making things difficult for them. A martial artist wielding a sword shouted. Together with another martial artist, they soared into the sky and shot towards the roof of the shop. They wanted to cut off Tang Tian's path of retreat. Andre was surprised. He squinted his eyes. Angelina's firm attitude was out of his expectations. Chase. Andre sat down again and smiled at Angelina. Your Majesty, relax. With Uncle Yuan's strength, even in my Leo constellation, he rarely has a mat. Andre was about to move when Yuan Ji suddenly said, Your Majesty, stay here and accompany Her Majesty Angelina. Leave the three of them to me. Tang Tian's newly comprehended sticky character art. Not good. But we need them too. While he was in shock, he did not notice that a ghostly figure had already rushed to his side. His palms quietly slashed horizontally without any light aura. His 10 fingers were like hooks. Dazzling sparks spewed out. At the bridge, the other fist-type martial artist brazenly rushed into the shop. The opponent's sword made Tang Tian feel that he could not avoid it. Then come. Angelina did not understand the logic behind it, but she took a deep breath and said, I have to disappoint you. Andromeda constellation has many things to do. These treasures are extremely important to the revival of Andromeda constellation. Andromeda constellation is powerless to support you. Unless she still had a trump card? Tang Tian was extremely excited. His intuition was extremely sharp. He felt that his body was extremely obedient. Movements that were usually difficult to do could be easily done. A cold aura suddenly appeared in the dust. Tang Tian had fallen into the most difficult and bitter battle in his life. Bang! The opponent did not expect Tang Tian's reaction to be so fast. What was even more unexpected was that Tang Tian could escape so straightforwardly. The dense white light aura enveloped his entire arm. It was as though he was dragging a white flame. The opponent had 3 people, and all of them were extremely powerful. The true power in Tang Tian's body disappeared. His body that was suspended in the air lost its strength. He fell down freely, but his heart was extremely calm. Was this the calmness between life and death? After a while, a servant rushed over anxiously. He said with a trembling voice, Not good. Not good. The 3 masters were ambushed on the way to the weaving workshop. Tang Tian's eyes lit up with a light aura. Halfway through, he changed his fist into a claw. Dazzling sparks lit up without any warning. A loud shout came out. The sword martial artist's hair was disheveled. The dense sword aura flowed down from the sword blade and enveloped his entire body. With a sharp whistle, his body and sword became one. He transformed into a ray of sword aura and pounced towards Tang Tian. Bang bang! The blade that he released did not fall to the ground. Instead, it floated in the air and suddenly released a dazzling light aura. At the same time, his palms grabbed onto the 5 fingers that were as hard as steel. Because I'm weak. The ceiling suddenly shattered. Amidst the rubble and dust, 2 figures descended from the sky. It was the 2 people on the roof who heard the commotion inside. They immediately came to help. 10 balls of light that looked like fireflies flew towards the piercingly cold sword aura in a seemingly slow but actually fast manner. The blade martial artist who was being held by the neck felt numb. His true power was completely out of control. He could not even use a single bit of his heavenly abilities. The blade martial artist's face turned red. He felt extremely humiliated. He had just killed his comrade by mistake. Now, he had to suffer the humiliation. Gotcha. The blade martial artist stopped breathing. But the dazzling light aura released by the blade had already enveloped the entire room. The feeling of extreme danger caused all the hair on Tang Tian's body to stand. Tang Tian suddenly felt a sense of danger. Without thinking, he suddenly exerted strength in his palm. Go and die. His eyes flashed with a terrifying light aura. He suddenly let go of the blade. Chapter 377. Boom. I will only know after I try. She could not understand. Could it be that this guy could not feel the difference in power between them? The light swords were like raindrops, shrouding the area within a radius of 15 feet. The shop was crushed into pieces. The explosion caused the shop to explode, and the light became blinding. It was as if a firework had bloomed in the sky. Is this the power of a gold-ranked martial artist? The people on the street dodged the attack. Ji Xiaoya's body swayed as she took 2 steps back. Tang Tian felt as though he had clawed onto an iron wall. His 5 fingers were in excruciating pain. What was worse was that a powerful true power had penetrated into his meridians. Ji Xiaoya's face darkened. She slowly scanned the street. There was no one on the street. Ji Xiaoya met Tang Tian's gaze. She did not know why, but her heart tightened. In Tang Tian's eyes there was no fear. He did not retreat. Instead, he was filled with the desire to fight. It was as if he had an irreconcilable grudge against her. Ji Xiaoya's eyes flashed with a cold glint as she retracted her palm. Tang Tian sucked in a breath of cold air. The high-speed light sword current brought forth a powerful qi, cutting his back in pain. Tang Tian's heart was suddenly alerted, and a strong sense of danger enveloped his entire body. His heart jumped, and without thinking, he forcefully activated the wind concealment steps, and with a twist of his body, he plunged into a shop at the side of the street. Ji Xiaoya said slowly. Her voice was melodious, but her words were filled with a strong sense of oppression. Bang bang bang! Tang Tian, who was in the middle of the street, turned and stomped on the ground with his right foot. His body suddenly became blurry and disappeared into thin air. Tang Tian took a deep breath. A gold-ranked martial artist? The swords rained down on the brick wall. No wonder you were able to injure Yi Zhaoguo. I had already guessed that a silver-ranked martial artist would not be your match. But I have to see it with my own eyes to believe it. It was a unique footwork that she had never seen before. Ignorant courage. It is just stupidity. However, he did not hesitate. The strong sense of danger lingered in his heart. It did not make him feel afraid. Instead, it made him excited. Without the slightest bit of hesitation, he exerted force under his feet, and his whole body flew backwards and crashed into the wall. His 5 fingers were like hooks as he charged towards Ji Xiaoya with a flash of silver light. Here, today. The light sword rain suddenly enveloped the place where he was just a moment ago, and the shop was torn apart like a piece of paper. Ji Xiaoya's eyes flashed with astonishment. She had not encountered such a situation in a long time. Her 2 attacks had been dodged. Tang Tian seemed to have predicted her attack in advance and easily dodged it. Almost as soon as she destroyed the shop that Tang Tian was in, Tang Tian rushed in front of her. His speed was as fast as lightning. Spiraling energy shot out from Tang Tian's fingertips like 5 high-speed rotating drills, piercing into the light sword barrier. Gold-ranked martial artists had another name, Jin 3000. Anyone who could be called a gold-ranked martial artist would definitely be ranked within the top 3,000 in the Heaven list. Similarly, the top 3,000 of the Heaven leaderboard were also known as the Golden Region. Countless swords of light gushed out from her body like a flood, shooting straight into the sky. Her previous attack had missed again. Tang Tian did not hear it. His chest was pounding so hard that he wanted to shout to the sky. What a strong aura! Tens of thousands of light swords were like a torrential downpour, washing over every corner of the street. At the same time, he appeared in front of Ji Xiaoya. The battle intent in Tang Tian's body exploded. Tang Tian's eyes were burning with battle intent. This is the power of a gold-ranked martial artist, Puff. Did you see that? Using the same method, he continued to rush into a few shops. Suddenly, Tang Tian's body swooshed out of the shop. Ji Xiaoya, who was also a unique martial technique practitioner, was able to identify it very quickly. Ji Xiaoya regained her composure, and the true power in her body started to circulate rapidly. Her true power seeped into the armor on her body, and spots of light appeared on the surface of the armor. The spots of light gathered in her palms at an alarming speed. Suddenly, Tang Tian's body stopped. However, you are only qualified. Just like unique martial techniques, there are differences in strength. Ji Xiaoya looked down from above, and said indifferently, "Let me show you what a real unique martial technique is." A golden palm blocked Tang Tian's fire scythe ghost claw. Bang! The moment he landed, he nimbly somersaulted and landed steadily on the street. Without looking at the ball of fire above him, the sword-ranked martial artist had already turned into ashes. Ding! A sword fell from the sky not far away from him, and shattered into pieces. Tang Tian did not look at it, and the true power in his body slowly recovered. He turned around and ran towards the direction of the manor. Ling Su and Crane would definitely be attacked. Deep pride and confidence made his body stand even straighter. Good eyesight. Xiaoya has always felt that Mr. Tang is a genius. Before we left, the branch leader had advised us that the misunderstanding between Mr. Tang and the Yi family is not worth mentioning. If Mr. Tang is willing to join the 13th Gold Branch, the branch leader is willing to mediate the conflict between Mr. Tang and the Yi family. The other party was like a blazing sun. Just by standing there, the surging energy fluctuations were like raging waves, rippling out in all directions. What was even more frightening was the armor on her body. There were waves of energy waves flowing on the surface of the armor. Ji Xiaoya's expression was indifferent. She raised her arm and pointed her fingers at Tang Tian. In the next moment, she appeared on top of the street in front of Tang Tian. Her face was gloomy. The goal that was once thought to be far away had suddenly become within reach. The young man's vow, the vow made under the starry sky, was like a war drum that was blown by the wind, stirring his heart. Tang Tian's 5 fingers created 5 dazzling sparks, and fiercely struck the light swords that formed a circular barrier. Tang Tian could feel the frightening energy waves emitted from Ji Xiaoya, but he was not the least bit afraid. With a soft sound, the brick wall crumbled like flour. Tang Tian and a civet broke into a shop next door. Tang Tian licked his lips and said, "That's right. However, my life has always been decided by me." Tang Tian was panting. He did not hold back at all in his previous attack. He did not expect that he would only be able to grab a few strands of his opponent's hair. This woman's strength was even stronger than Yi Zhaoji's. Tang Tian's heart was pounding. "Hey, did you see that?" A fierce roar rang out from behind her. Ji Xiaoya's eyes widened. How did he get behind her? The incomparably sharp sword slammed into the first demon king Firefly. The strong rotation caused the martial artist's body to tremble. This strange force shocked him. Tang Tian's pupils shrunk. The violent explosion engulfed the martial artist. "I am ready." Tang Tian maintained his posture as he fell from the sky. He looked at the dazzling fireballs in the sky, his face calm. The sword aura within the flames had disappeared. It was impossible to withstand the explosion of 10 Demon King Fireflies. "The Yi family has underestimated your strength." Ji Xiaoya stopped in the air and said coldly, "You have the instincts of a wild beast. You have mastered 2 unique martial techniques. You have the qualifications to become a gold-ranked martial artist." A soft sound entered Ji Xiaoya's ears. Without hesitation, she extended her palm towards the direction of the sound. "Pa pa pa." Ji Xiaoya's cold eyes finally showed a hint of emotion. She did not even notice the fast speed of Tang Tian's claw. Suddenly, an absurd thought appeared in Ji Xiaoya's mind. Did this guy really think that he had a chance to defeat her? "I have made my vow to come this far. I have fought this far. I have never given up. I have never been afraid. I have always pursued victory." It was as if Ji Xiaoya had eyes at the back of her head. Dozens of light swords gathered behind her head and transformed into a light sword. It collided with Tang Tian's fire scythe ghost claw. Boom! I, Tang Tian, am going to challenge a gold-ranked martial artist. Puff. Ji Xiaoya replied calmly. Mr. Tang is too confident. No. As long as I defeat you, I will become a gold-ranked martial artist. Tang Tian, whose blood was boiling, suddenly raised his head. His eyes were bloodshot like a bloodthirsty beast. Looking at Ji Xiaoya, who was floating in the sky, the blood in his body was boiling so hot that it almost caused him to combust. He grinned. Tang Tian threw out a sentence and activated his wind concealment step. He charged towards Ji Xiaoya without fear. His chest was brimming with strong confidence. His arrogant eyes were abnormally calm at this moment. No matter what, I will not give up. No matter how dangerous the road ahead was, the godlike young man was not afraid. Boom. As long as I defeat this woman in the sky, I will become a gold-ranked martial artist. If that was the case, it would be a joke. Ji Xiaoya's body trembled. Her light sword transformed into a pair of light wings. She disappeared in front of Tang Tian. Ji Xiaoya's eyes turned cold. She raised her left palm and aimed it at Tang Tian. Countless light swords were shot out. Interesting. Tang Tian flew back at an even faster speed and crashed into a shop. This was victory. Tang Tian's strength surprised Ji Xiaoya. It was normal for a martial artist to have strong instincts. Ji Xiaoya had met many martial artists who were born with strong instincts. But other than having a strong intuition, Tang Tian's martial techniques were also very powerful. His footwork was a unique martial technique, and his claw techniques were also unique martial technique. He had a flawless oval face, neat bangs, shoulder-length hair, and a pair of cold, emotionless black eyes. So this is a gold-ranked martial artist. The sound of clapping could be heard from the entrance of the street about 200 meters away. A girl dressed in a golden armor walked into the middle of the street while clapping. Boom, boom, boom. Nice to meet you. My name is Ji Xiaoya. Please take care of me. A cold and oppressive voice came from above Tang Tian's head. Mr. Tang, do not be so emotional. No matter what, life is precious. Ji Xiaoya replied. Kill. Those who were once unreachable were now his enemies. Unknowingly, he had come this far. Mother, did you see that? Chia, did you see that? Ghost Claw, did you see that? Tang Tian shook his head. Thank you for your kind intentions, but I will not join the Honorable Martial Alliance. She touched the back of her head. There was a section of hair at the back of her head that was broken by Tang Tian's finger force. It had been many years since she had suffered such a huge loss. Her beautiful eyes were incomparably cold. The remaining demon Queen Ying were engulfed in the flames of the explosion. Gold-ranked martial artist. I will definitely win. Chapter 378. Ling Su and Flamingo's powers were all concentrated on the spear. The tip of the spear emitted a dangerous aura, causing Luda's body to feel as though it was being pricked by needles. The flamingo below him was abnormally quiet. It had already made its preparations. A low voice slowly approached. However, in front of a gold-ranked martial artist, such tricks were useless. The skinny man at the side snorted. I heard that her talent is average, but her character is persevering and she knows her limits. Even though the flying fish fins is of a low level, it can bring out the full potential of her unique martial technique. Humph, if Volan's constellation knew about this, they would definitely join the Leo constellation. Crane slowly swallowed the spring water in his mouth. He closed his eyes, as though he was enjoying the sweetness of the spring water. His loose black martial artist robes fluttered even though there was no wind. The robes fluttered in the wind, accentuating his slender figure. Ji Xiaoya's light sword was only halfway formed when her pupils constricted. So fast. Kill! Lu Hai's eyes lit up. He had been accumulating power for a long time, and punched out. Good timing. His deep voice caused people's hearts to palpitate. Even the air seemed to ripple. His body was over 4 meters tall, making him look like a giant from ancient times. His almost naked upper body was covered in layers of bulging muscles, giving off a soul-stirring aura. The most eye-catching part was his arms, which were thicker than his thighs. They looked strangely uncoordinated, and were covered in demonic gold patterns. Ling Su's face was ferocious. He crouched down with the silver spear in his hand. His fingers that were holding onto the silver spear were unusually soft and relaxed. Rumble. Lu Hai's eyes flashed. It was his first time seeing a knight riding on a mechanical beast. Mechanical beasts were not something that could be seen in high-standard battles. Most knights would use star spirit beasts as mounts. However, these two people were not easy to deal with. He gently clenched his right fist. Bang! This ordinary movement actually produced a sonic boom. He missed. The silver spear was in his hand, and he gently caressed it, like a beast silently grinding its fangs. That's true. Baldy nodded. He pulled the topic back. Tang Tian's potential is quite unexpected. Against Ji Xiaoya, he could still survive for so long. Many people wanted to learn the wind concealment steps, but they didn't succeed. Unexpectedly, he succeeded. There's also the fire scythe ghost claw, which has been trained to a unique level. I really want to cut open his brain to see what's inside. Tang Tian seemed to have already predicted this move of hers, and his figure disappeared again. Before she could steady herself, a sharp sound of wind came from above her head. A hair-raising low whistle swept through the air, and a dazzling sword light flashed through the air. And that sword's shadow, it was blurry like the wind. The spectators retreated backwards in fear. They thought that they were safe from the battle. However, the power of Ji Xiaoya's sword had shocked them. The speed of this mechanical beast was very fast, and its charge was very powerful. What surprised Lu Hai was that the aura of the mount and the knight were one, and there were no flaws at all. If it was before, she still remembered the instructions of the branch leader and wanted to recruit Tang Tian, then now, there was only one thought in her mind, and that was to chop this fellow into pieces. Only then could she vent the hatred in her heart. Not everyone in the crowd was panicking. A gold-ranked martial artist? A blurry and slender figure had appeared above his head without him noticing. Two fierce-looking men were discussing in a low voice in a dark corner. In the honorable martial group, gold-ranked martial artists were existences that people looked up to. The 13 gold-ranked branches were the core strength of the Honorable Martial Alliance. Even the 13th gold branch had many strong martial artists, and many of them were just a step away from becoming a saint. His gaze was fixed on Ling Su, who was rushing towards him. However, Ji Xiaoya's sword had destroyed all the houses. Suddenly, his eyes twitched. No matter where they went, they were considered to be unreachable existences. Yet, they were defeated by an unknown person. Even though it was only 3 moves, it was enough to make the arrogant Ji Xiaoya feel like she was about to collapse. Suddenly, a blurry figure appeared on her left side, and a dazzling spark appeared from the left side of her vision. Her left palm caught the claw firmly, and the powerful force caused her left arm to go numb. A light laugh came out from Ling Su's mouth. That heroic face, the orange-red pupils had long burned silently, transforming into a sea of fire. The power of a gold-ranked martial artist was much greater than an ordinary elder. His expression was stern, and he slowly lifted his heavy feet. Every step he took caused the ground to tremble. "Haha, that's right." The bald man laughed. If Ji Xiaoya really managed to refine the soaring fish fin armor to the gold rank, the Honorable Martial Alliance would definitely take over the Volans constellation and turn the soaring fish fin armor into the saint treasure of the Volans constellation. The bald man laughed. Ji Xiaoya trained in the light shark sword, a very good unique martial technique. It is much better than Tang Tian's fire scythe ghost claw. The armor she is wearing is the soaring fish fin armor of the Volans constellation. It is said that she has used her martial spirit to refine it for 10 years, and has never changed it. Its power is not inferior to the saint treasure of the Volans constellation. She is just a step away from becoming a gold-ranked armor. In front of them, there was a tall and sturdy martial artist. He was like a mountain, towering and unshakable. The skinny man did not speak, and his eyes flickered. Suddenly, the warm and amiable lips curled up into a shallow arc. Crane's handsome face that caused countless women to feel ashamed, suddenly had an unfathomable sharp aura. The sword aura pierced through the air, and the house in the distance was like a cake, sliced in half by a sharp knife. The spear was like a dragon. Interesting. Lu Hai stopped in his tracks. His half-closed eyes finally opened. The light sword in his hand was condensed. Just at this moment, the sound of the wind came from the right. Her beautiful eyes flashed, and the light sword suddenly slashed horizontally. Crane and Ling Su were on the left and right. Both of them were breathing heavily, but they did not dare to look away. Sweat dripped down their faces, and they did not dare to blink. The tall and sturdy figure in the center of his vision was getting bigger and clearer. The scenery in Ling Su's vision was trembling violently. The wind that blew on his face was like a knife. But his entire body seemed to be enveloped in flames. Every inch of his skin felt like it was being roasted. It was as though something was about to burst out of his body. It must be known that this was the business district. It was the gathering place of all the businesses. To prevent robberies, all the shops were built extremely sturdy. Even if a normal martial artist used all their strength, they would not be able to leave a mark on the walls. His red tongue licked his thin and sharp lip. The orange sea of flames in his eyes surged with fighting intent. Under the silver hair, the heroic face revealed a wild excitement, as though a wild beast had seen its delicious prey. Ling Su roared. Flamingo shot out, dragging a long fiery tail, like a flaming lightning. He suddenly lowered his waist into a horse stance. His thick and uncoordinated arms were held by his side. The golden patterns on his arms seemed to have come alive. His originally thick and sturdy right arm expanded rapidly. It was actually as thick and solid as his chest. Tang Tian's body suddenly disappeared into thin air. This kind of close combat was her weakness. Her body was pushed a few meters to the side by the force. Suddenly, the sound of wind could be heard from behind her. Ji Xiaoye did not dare to be negligent. The light-inch sword behind her suddenly folded. Bang! A fierce force came from her back. The light wings were shattered. Ji Xiaoye groaned as she floated forward for another 7 to 8 meters. Lu Hai, from the 13th Gold Branch of the Honorable Martial Alliance. Both of her legs landed heavily on the ground. Boom! Dust and smoke spread out in all directions. Crane politely reminded her, "Everyone who sees it has a share. It is not a good tradition to eat alone." Crane stood up and wiped his forehead. He slowly took out a bottle of water and elegantly took a sip. "I have sweated so much. I need to replenish my water." Ling Su suddenly stood up and started to stretch his neck. He moved his body and said, "Hey, little Crane, go to the back." However, Ji Xiaoye's status as a gold-ranked martial artist did not come out of thin air. She had a lot of battle experience. When her palms and fingers touched, countless light-inch swords converged and shot out from her palms. Lu Hai felt that it was a pity. If she had joined their branch, they might have been able to groom her into a gold-ranked martial artist. No wonder the branch leader specially reminded him before he left. Buzz. Ling Su was dissatisfied. "Hey, sissy. Don't hinder me from stabbing this idiot to death." Gold-ranked martial artist. This was a gold-ranked martial artist. Lu Hai did not find it strange. Geniuses always had their own pride. His lips curled into a cold smile. Destroying the arrogance of a genius was his favorite thing to do. The astonishing strength forced her to bend her knees. She had long suppressed the anger in her heart. How could she be defeated by such a weak person? The scrawny man said, "They won't dare. If they do that, they will become the enemy of all the constellation masters in Heaven's Road. The Honorable Martial Alliance has grown to where they are today. They are like us, Onyx Soul. If they do not become a constellation master, they will never change. Once they change, they will just be a slightly bigger constellation. There is nothing to be afraid of. From Ji Xiaoya's feet to 300 meters away, there was a complete fan-shaped area. All the houses were destroyed and collapsed. The dust that was kicked up was like a monster. It was extremely terrifying. All of you, if you don't surrender, you will die. He stood there quietly like a sword. His slender figure, along with his unpredictable smile on his face, slowly faded away. Ji Xiaoya stretched out her left palm to protect her head. Bang! A force that was stronger than the previous 2 times was transmitted through her palm. Her arm was numb and her body was like a wooden pillar that had been smashed down. She fell to the ground with a loud thud. The power of the sword made the people who were watching from afar turn pale. His strength was not bad. How long had it been since he was in such a sorry state? Chapter 379. Sihan's eyes twitched. Bat assassin. His body was faster than his brain, and his sensitivity to danger was amazing. Ji Xiaoya took a deep breath and regained her clarity. She was even more apprehensive. Ding! Bang! Up till now, he had not found anything that could withstand the destructive power of the bat assassin. Ling Su and Flamingo landed heavily on the ground. The intense pain caused him to wake up from his stupor, and he revealed a fierce smile. Fragments of the bat assassin rained down on Lu Hai's head. He was indeed a gold-ranked martial artist. Your Highness is indeed intelligent. If you were to fall here, it would be a great victory for us. Ji Meiyu smiled sweetly. Her looks were not as pretty as Angelina, but her slender jade-like legs were extremely alluring. Ji Xiaoya was aware of Tang Tian's intentions. She could feel that her true power was being depleted. Tang Tian was extremely slippery. Her light shark sword did not even manage to touch his clothes. Your Highness has good eyesight to be able to recognize such an unpopular treasure, Sihan said. It belonged to the southern sky's 42 constellations, Mountain Case Constellation. Mountain Case Heavy Glove. After 12 years of refinement by the Honorable Martial Alliance, it had reached the level of a gold-ranked weapon. He still had no idea what this terrifying silver liquid was. However, after a period of time, it would automatically condense from his silver body. Once it reached the maximum amount, it would stop condensing. Tang Tian and Ji Xiaoya's silhouettes flashed in the air and collided with each other. The entire street was a mess. Ji Xiaoya swung her light shark sword and the sword aura spread over a few hundred meters. Ling Su crawled up from the ground and sat back on Flamingo's back. He spat out the mud in his mouth. There was no fear on his face. Instead, he became even more excited. Corvus Constellation's treasure, 9 Raven Cape. Andre nodded. No wonder Corvus Constellation has been declining for so long. You were the one who secretly extracted the Corvus Constellation's star power. Tang Tian quickly gained the upper hand in the battle and dodged the attacks with ease. Tang Tian is controlling the rhythm. Ayaya, I've been recognized. So scary. Qian Xian's face was not serious. TSK. If it was the Honorable Martial Alliance, losing 5 gold-ranked martial artists at once, they would definitely feel the pain. Oh no, how could I underestimate the Honorable Martial Alliance? How rich are they? 5 gold-ranked martial artists are nothing to them, ha 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 ha. Ji Xiaoya stopped abruptly as she stared intently at Tang Tian. She then raised her light shark sword. Her hair moved even though there was no wind, and her flying fin's armor suddenly lit up with a dazzling light. There was a bloody hole in his fist. The woman in front of him was tall and slender. Her slender legs were tightly wrapped in black leather pants. Light golden spots of different sizes were scattered all over her legs, like the stripes on a giraffe. It was very beautiful. Most people would only think that this was ordinary clothing, but Andre's pupils shrank slightly. No, if this continued, it was very likely that she would fail. Tang Tian was in an unprecedented danger. He seemed to be dodging awkwardly, but his eyes were blazing with fire. He was waiting for an opportunity to counterattack. Qian Xen greets Her Majesty. The red-haired man greeted Angelina frivolously. Ji Xiaoya's light body technique was not as good as Tang Tian's. However, her flying fin's armor not only strengthened her light shark sword, but also allowed her to be as agile as a fish. With the help of the flying fin's armor, Ji Xiaoya was not at a disadvantage in terms of light body technique. Lu Hai knew that he was in danger. He roared and used his right palm to block the attack above his head. Lu Hai's face did not show any signs of happiness. On the contrary, his indifferent face had become ferocious. The light shark sword was indeed powerful, but Ji Xiaoya was only able to unleash the power of the sword. Her understanding of sword techniques was still shallow. Compared to Yi Zhaogu and Crane, they were not on the same level. Light Shark Sword, ranked 17355 on the unique board of technique. Andre glanced at Yuan Ji, who was engaged in an intense battle. He retracted his gaze and looked at the lady in front of him. He laughed. I did not expect you to send out 3 gold-ranked martial artists. It seems like we did not give you enough pressure. Andre, Qian Xin and the Bat Assassin surrounded the two of them in a triangle formation. The faint gold color indicated that it had undergone refinement and was slowly evolving into a gold-ranked treasure. The bald man in the shadows was surprised. In terms of strength, Tang Tian was weaker than Ji Xiaoya. However, Tang Tian had the upper hand in the battle. Tang Tian made use of his constant dodging to control Ji Xiaoya. Qian Xion's laughter echoed in the hall. What was going on? She was at a loss. How did the battle develop to this stage? Tang Tian's strength was much weaker than hers. This victory should have been in the bag. A man with short red hair walked out with a grin on his face. The light shark sword was ranked much higher than the fire scythe ghost claw. Tang Tian tried to clash with it, but the light shark sword was too powerful. His fire scythe ghost claw was instantly destroyed. The difference between 1 star and 2 stars was much bigger than Tang Tian had imagined. However, Tang Tian was in a state of excitement. He was like a ferocious beast. Let's end it here. Her cold voice could be heard throughout the entire fairy city. Crush him. Shark circulation. She was an experienced fighter. She knew that there was a flaw in her state of mind. This was a sign of danger. The immortal martial had a unique evaluation system for unique martial technique. From 1 star to 10 stars, there were about 2,000 unique martial techniques for each star. The light shark sword was ranked 2 stars. Compared to both of Tang Tian's martial techniques, it was 1 rank higher. However, Tang Tian was not discouraged. His amazing instincts allowed him to successfully dodge. In a blink of an eye, the tables had turned. At this time, Ling Su's silver spear had arrived. Idiot, the tip of the spear just now had a drop of silver liquid congealed from his body. When this judgment appeared in her mind, she was stunned. The word failure was so glaring. Sparks flew everywhere. Lu Hai's arm was like it was made of steel. It did not move an inch. It was as though the spear had pierced into a steel plate. An earth-shattering force came from the spear, causing Ling Su's vision to darken. He did not have time to react. He was sent flying with his bird. 5. Andre's face changed slightly. Then he regained his composure. That's true. I think Tang Tian and the other 2 are your targets. However, with their strength, 2 gold-ranked martial artists are more than enough. Yuan Ji is 1, so the other 2 are prepared for me. A black figure floated out like smoke. His expression was cold. He was wearing a black cape. His shoulders and arms were covered with black crows. These crows were as black as ink. Only their eyes were gold. Your Highness has summoned me. Si Han would not dare not come. A low voice came from behind him. Crane's heart trembled, but he did not panic. He held the crane sword in his hand. A familiar feeling came from his palm. The long-legged lady bowed. Honorable Martial Alliance 7th Gold Branch G. May you greets Your Highness. Your Highness has guessed wrongly. It is not 3, but 5. What a strong power! Angelina was dumbstruck. He lowered his body again and chuckled softly. The excited Tang Tian was extremely sensitive. After a few rounds, he found Ji Xiaoya's weakness. The tip of the spear collided with Lu Hai's gigantic fist. Lu Hai roared, "Mountain! Since you know how to dodge, I will make sure you have nowhere to hide." The steel sword just now couldn't withstand the power of his sword at all. Before it could hurt Lu Hai, it had already disintegrated. Andre was calm. What about the other one? There's no need to hide. But the battle was not what people expected. Onyx Soul. Ji Meiyu said coldly. Tang Tian's Fire Scythe Ghost Claw was ranked number 19921, while his Wind Concealment Steps was ranked number 19832. 5 gold-ranked martial artists. You have really invested a lot. Andre laughed, but his eyes suddenly became sharp. But, why do you think that I do not care about my life? Feeling the strong wind above his head, Lu Hai struck with his left palm. Ji Xiaoya, who was raising her light sword, suddenly twisted her wrist and stabbed the light sword into the ground. Ding ding ding! With Ji Xiaoya at the center, a circle of light with a radius of 2,000 meters appeared on the ground. Countless white light spots the size of fingernails emerged from the ground like cherry blossoms being blown by the wind. They scattered like a school of dangerous fish, gathering and dispersing. Currently, he had 5 drops of silver liquid in his body. The bat assassin did not seem to hear it. Crackling sounds could be heard from his arms. The faint golden patterns on his arms seemed to have come alive. His arms started to emit a layer of rock luster, forming a thick rock gauntlet. Suddenly, a black shadow fell from the top of the hall. It was a masked man dressed in black and resembling a bat. The sharp white sword aura pierced Lu Hai's palm. But the steel sword in his hand could not withstand the attack and instantly broke into pieces. Crane's reaction was fast. He released the sword hilt in a flash and pressed down with his palm. With a full charge, Ling Su's aura perfectly merged into one. The burning battle intent caused the newly advanced Ling Su's spear to reach an unprecedented peak. The dazzling flying fins shattered into countless fingernail-sized light spots that floated around Ji Xiaoya's body. One of the 19 northern sky continents, Camelopardalis constellations, silver treasure, Camelopardalis striped language. This is the style of the Honorable Martial Alliance. They always think that others are fools. A cynical voice suddenly rang out. The silver transformation had already started to corrode his muscles. The light sword pierced into the ground. Ji Xiaoya's hands were empty. Crane, who had just retrieved the crane sword, felt a strong force coming towards him. He quickly retreated. But he was still hit by the strong force. His entire body flew back like an arrow. He had to retreat for more than 30 meters before he could dissipate the force. Si-Han and Ji Meiyu were shocked. They did not even notice that someone was hiding in the dark. Clang! Both of them stopped talking and stared at the intense battle. The skinny man nodded. Yes, he is draining Ji Xiaoya's true power. Oh, Ji Xiaoya noticed it. Chapter 380. Dazzling rays of light shone from his 10 fingers as he strode towards Ji Xiaoya. He activated his Fire Scythe Ghost Claw and clawed at the light spots around him. A densely packed house that was riddled with holes suddenly collapsed. The snowflake-like light spots continued to penetrate through the rubble, causing the pile of rubble to become even finer. Lu Hai did not dare to stop. He continued to punch the sky with his right fist. The black figures continued to fly up into the sky. Lu Hai did not notice that all 13 figures were on the same vertical line. Lu Hai heard the long whistle of the crane above him. He was startled and subconsciously looked up. When the last light spot was destroyed, a bloodied man stood in front of Ji Xiaoya with a face full of fear and despair. Who? Bang! How was this possible? He frantically attacked the light spots, trying his best to avoid being hit. However, he had lost a lot of blood, causing him to feel dizzy. The sound of a sword rang out. There were 3 holes in his fist. He was angry. He was not angry because he was injured, but because the mountain case heavy glove was damaged. He had spent a lot of effort on this treasure to reach where it was today. It was only a step away from becoming a gold-ranked treasure. He did not know how long it would take for him to recover from today's damage. Lu Hai was extremely proud of his strength. He had never met a martial artist who was stronger than him in terms of strength. This was his strength. He had once blasted a martial artist's body apart with a single punch. This was the first time Tang Tian had encountered such a terrifying martial technique. Although the silver-haired kid's spear technique was good, the difference in strength between them was like heaven and earth. Lu Hai thought that the kid would not be able to get up. He did not expect the kid to get up and continuously attack him 3 times. After receiving 3 heavy punches, even an Iron Man would have been smashed into pieces. Lu Hai did not expect the kid to charge at him even though his face was covered in blood. The palm aura flew out and expanded rapidly. It was like a wall slamming towards the black figures. Feeling the threat of death, Lu Hai used all his strength in this attack. At such a close distance, the shock wave was enough to destroy them. "I will kill you!" The tip of the crane's sword lit up with a sharp white aura. This was a phenomenon that would only occur when the aura of the sword was condensed to a certain degree. No one had ever lasted more than 3 minutes in the circle of light. His long black hair fluttered in the air. His black eyes were as calm as water. Bang! Lu Hai's stone fist was instantly shattered. Countless rocks exploded, and Lu Hai's entire right arm exploded into pieces. Ling Su looked at Lu Hai, who had a hole in his chest. His face was covered in blood, and he sneered. He moved his silver spear lightly, and it suddenly disappeared. Ji Xiaoya watched coldly from the side. She had tried to use this method to break her shark swimming circle, but no one had ever succeeded. It was like a school of sharks. If you killed 8 or 10 of them, not only would it not make you safe, it would only attract more sharks. Ding ding ding. She subconsciously looked in the direction of Tang Tian, and her expression suddenly changed. She could vaguely see Tang Tian's crazed figure in the originally impenetrable circle of light. Idiot! The weak sword aura made Lu Hai feel like a child wielding a sword. It was not a threat to him at all. Countless sparks flashed on the palm aura. 13 figures took turns to attack the palm aura. They all used different stances to attack, and it was a dazzling sight. But at this moment, he had no time to be distracted. Both his legs were rooted to the ground, and he faced Ling Su, who was rushing towards him. Suddenly, a heart-wrenching scream came from afar. Ji Xiaoya's expression changed. It was Lu Hai. Was Lu Hai in danger? Lu Hai finally reacted. He did not care about anything else. He used one of his giant palms to protect his head, and the other to punch the crowd. Crane wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, and said indifferently, "Rotating sword wheel crane dance." He was like a wounded beast, and his face was filled with ruthlessness. Ling Su rode on Flamingo, and like a straight line of red flames, he charged into Crane's field of vision. Lu Hai's expression changed. In a moment of desperation, he did not care about anything else, and pushed both of his palms upwards. The 13 cranes opened their eyes at the same time. Bang! He fell to the ground like a wooden stake. "No, I need to end this quickly." He clapped his palms, and the tip of the sword hit the ground. With a ping sound, Crane was like a huge black crane. He opened his arms and swung away agilely. Lu Hai did not notice that Crane's eyes lit up in the air. How could this be? The black figures were like feathers, and were suddenly pushed higher into the sky. Dense explosions rang out. Tang Tian's body was covered in blood. He had become a bloody man, and a small pool of blood formed under his feet. But he continued to attack crazily, attacking the light spots around him. A voice full of sarcasm suddenly rang out. Lu Hai heard Ji Xiaoya's voice, and his heart trembled. Ji Xiaoya had actually used her killing technique. The long whistling sound suddenly stopped, and the 13 black figures in the sky brandished their swords at the same time. But there were too many light spots, and there was no way to dodge them. The figure that had not lost its momentum continued to pounce on the other figure below it. Lu Hai's talent was ordinary, and he only trained in the ordinary heavy fist technique. But to become a gold-ranked martial artist, he had created his own training method. The Honorable Martial Alliance was best at refining treasures. But no matter what Lu Hai did, the results of refining treasures were terrible. He suddenly had an idea, and borrowed some of the Onyx Soul's techniques, and implanted the mountain case heavy gloves into his arms. Lu Hai, who was furious, did not hold back at all. His heavy fists were unleashed to the maximum. Victory must be mine, no one can take it away from me. There was only a cold light in the sky, as bright as a star. All his struggles were futile. How is this possible? Lu Hai could not believe his eyes. The 13 figures were all real. Ji Xiaoya looked at Tang Tian indifferently as he activated his fire scythe ghost claw, and the light spots around him were getting denser. An astonishing number of light spots surged towards Tang Tian, and converged into a huge cocoon of light. Fresh blood immediately caused Tang Tian's eyes to turn red. Lu Hai, who was originally angry, became anxious. To him, Ling Su was simply unreasonable. Pu. In the next moment, his expression froze. The continuous sword hums were so dense that it was hard to distinguish them. All that could be heard was the sharp sword hums. Crane descended from the sky. The moment he landed, his legs went soft, and he almost knelt on the ground. He forcefully stabilized himself so that he did not embarrass himself. Clang, clang, clang. Is this the time? He could only dodge with all his might. Bang! A ray of black light descended from the sky. Crane's eyes exploded with a bright light. He tightened his grip on the hilt of his sword. A loud and clear whistle was heard, piercing through the clouds. Suddenly, Ling Su turned his bloodied face. Hey, sissy, what was that technique called? His flesh and treasures gradually fused together. His strength began to increase at an astonishing rate, and the speed of refining the mountain case heavy gloves also increased rapidly. As for the small problem of his body being uncoordinated, he did not care at all. Fresh blood splattered everywhere. In a short few seconds, Tang Tian's body had a few more wounds. Although the wounds were not deep, fresh blood dyed his clothes, and it looked extremely terrifying. Those tiny spots of light were dangerous and fatal. They effortlessly pierced through the house, pierced through the bronze wind chimes hanging from the eaves, and pierced through everything in his field of vision. More and more blood flowed out, and the spots of light decreased. You said it before, 13 figures. Every time their swords hit his palm aura, sparks would fly. This was definitely not an illusion. Ji Xiaoya was at ease. Struggle, struggle, struggle. The more you struggle, the faster you will die. This rascal is crazy. Damn asshole. Kill him. A crisp explosion sound rang out. The spot of light that was hit by the fire scythe ghost claw immediately turned into a mist of light, and then disappeared. Lu Hai's throat suddenly exploded, revealing a fist-sized hole. His anger was frozen on his face, and his eyes were wide open. Hey, I am a gold-ranked martial artist. Lu Hai was overwhelmed with shock. In his vision, the spinning black flower suddenly collapsed. 13 black figures, like 13 floating black petals, floated towards him. He suddenly grinned, revealing his snow-white teeth that were stained with blood. He was filled with a terrifying power. Bang, bang, bang. No matter how many there were, whether it was 100,000 or 1,000,000, they would all be destroyed. Lu Hai had also leaped to become a gold-ranked martial artist, reaching a height that he dared not imagine before. Roars of anger could be heard from within the light spots. He was not dead yet. Destroy them. Shatter them all. He had to kill him with this punch. As long as he destroyed all of them, he would not have to dodge anymore. Clang! No matter how powerful his palm aura was, under the continuous attacks of the 13 figures, it quickly crumbled and turned into countless fragments. The circle of light became thinner. Defeat her, and you will become a gold-ranked martial artist. Tang Tian, persevere. The sharp sound of the sword resonated in Lu Hai's ears. Lu Hai, who had just calmed down, was starting to get irritated. If the Ling Su was a cockroach that could not be killed, then the crane was an annoying black fly that kept buzzing in his ears. Tang Tian's roar could be heard from within the impenetrable light spots. Tang Tian was in danger. Lu Hai calmed down, his eyes filled with killing intent. He opened up his fist and waited for Ling Su to rush forward. There was only one thought in his mind, a thought that couldn't be any simpler. Bang! That's right, I can't dodge, but why should I? 13 into 1. Not good. 13 identical black figures formed a circle, each of them pointing their swords at the center of the circle. The tips of the 13 swords were stuck together. Like a flock of large black cranes dancing in the sky, their black sleeves were swept up by the wind, unfurling and changing, like an ever-changing black flower, casting a shadow that shrouded Lu Hai's vision. Crane, who was at the highest point, suddenly opened up his arms and rushed down. He rushed to the head of the second crane without slowing down. The two of them collided, and a strange scene happened. The two living figures merged into one. Lu Hai only felt a layer of electricity running through his skin, and all the hairs on his body suddenly stood up. The 13 terrifying killing intents were like 13 sharp needles, pointing at his eyebrows. Lu Hai was in a state of madness. This is Ji Xiaoya, who had just made up her mind, suddenly realized that something was wrong. Tang Tian had been struggling for more than 10 minutes. Buzz. Chapter 381. The training they underwent was much harsher than normal training. Suddenly, Crane became cautious. Who is it? The silver Aquarius vase was not opened. It seemed that Tu Zishan did not open the vase after picking it up. Tu Zishan waved his hands at the skinny man. Qian Xian was like this. If he were to argue with him, it would be too ungentlemanly. He turned and greeted Andre. Tu Zishan greets Your Highness Andre. All these details caused Angelina to be secretly happy. None of the gold-ranked martial artists were weak. The skinny man did not have any expression on his face, but he was shocked. The hall master was not arrogant normally, but he rarely looked up to anyone. The three of them were not bad, but it was not enough for the hall master to be so passionate about them. Qian Xian's face disappeared and was replaced with a serious expression. I have never heard of them. The fire-scythe ghost claw pierced through her chest. Angelina, who was at the corner, was ecstatic. Andre's strength was too strong, to the point that she felt suffocated. Originally, she was already in despair. If Andre had any conditions, she would not be able to reject him. I am sorry, I cannot make the decision. Crane replied politely. This is too shocking. Andre forced himself to calm down. Tu Zishan laughed. Your Highness is wrong, I was not the one who attacked. Andre tried to probe. Does Hall Master Tu have a relationship with the three of them? Before he left, Tu Zishan turned to Crane. I will be staying at the Fairy Inn for a period of time. Inform me when you guys are done. Whether it is successful or not, it is fate. Don't worry about it. Alright, their injuries are not light. Everyone, let's not disturb them. Tu Zishan said. Interfere? Qian Xian laughed coldly. The higher-ups want it. The competition was a bit more brutal. Although more people died, only then would powerful experts emerge. Not only us, the Honorable Martial Alliance is the same. The 13 gold branches are much more brutal than the 12 ecliptic palaces. We are different from you guys. However, although the gold branches and Spirit Hall had great power, they could not directly interfere with the local affairs. The authority of the local affairs was mainly in the hands of the clan elders, and the benefits were divided among the big clans. Crane. Tu Zishan laughed and said, Your Highness, you have a good plan. The Honorable Martial Alliance has suffered a great loss this time. 5 gold-ranked martial artists is enough for them to suffer for a while. We are not hostile. The others were stunned. The scrawny man snorted coldly and glanced at the unconscious Tang Tian and Ling Su. Tu Zishan smiled and said, What do you think? The atmosphere in the 7th Divine Hall is pretty good. There's nothing messy here. We have over 100 unique martial techniques in our palace. We will definitely be able to find one suitable for you to train in. If he didn't have it, it was fine too. He could just find another hall to exchange for it. You don't have to worry about anything else. Her body fell heavily into the soil, and her eyes gradually lost their light. The skinny man's face turned cold and his eyes were filled with killing intent. Qian Xian was a member of the 5th Soul Palace, yet he dared to speak to the palace master so frivolously. He was simply tired of living. If there was only one buyer, she would definitely be taken advantage of. But with 2 buyers, her situation would change drastically. Furthermore, she was meticulous. Although Qian Xian and Tu Zishan were from the Onyx Soul, they did not seem to be on the same side. After leaving, Andre, Qian Xian and the rest walked together. Andre understood what Qian Xian meant by "you guys." He was referring to the constellations. Tang Tian and the other 2 killed 2 gold-ranked martial artists. They definitely had the qualifications to be on the same level as Andre. Plop, plop. He did not expect the Onyx Soul to have such an upright person. Crane praised him in his heart and nodded his head. All right. The 3 of them looked at each other. Tu Zishan immediately reacted and slapped his shiny forehead. That's right, that's right. The structure of the Honorable Martial Alliance and the Onyx Soul were very similar. Tu Zishan's words were heard by the rest. Qian Xian and the rest were suspicious, while Andre laughed bitterly. Since Tu Zishan had said those words, he could not make things difficult for the 3 of them. If not, he would become Tu Zishan's enemy. Andre suspected that Tu Zishan's words were a warning to them. They had seen the battle between Tang Tian and Yi Zhaogu. No matter how much the 3 of them improved, it was impossible for them to kill 2 gold-ranked martial artists. Especially for Tang Tian, it was too absurd for him to kill a gold-ranked martial artist alone. Hence, even though Yi Zhaogu was famous in Qiushan, in the eyes of Qian Xian and the rest, he was just a little kid. Such magnanimity was admirable. Crane could not help but have a good impression of him. He nodded his head and thanked Tu Zishan. On behalf of Tang Tian, I thank Tu Zishan. When he entered, he saw Lu Hai lying on the ground. He was dead. Andre was dumbfounded. He did not expect that the internal structure of the Onyx Soul would be so messy. Blood flowed like a river. The golden-haired young man was the most eye-catching. The rest of them were covered in wounds. It was obvious that they had been through a tough battle. Angelina was also in the middle of the group, but she was alone. But what was different? But when it came from Tu Zishan, no one dared to doubt him. But was it so easy to kill a gold-ranked martial artist? Tang Tian mustered his remaining strength and ran towards Ling Su and Crane. When he appeared in the manor with his body covered in blood, Ling Su and Crane were shocked. He was an intelligent person and understood Andre's intention. He laughed bitterly. Your Highness, you might not know this, but we, the Onyx Soul's 9 halls, do not belong to each other. Our relationship with the 7th hall is not bad. If it was the 2nd hall, blood would have flowed like a river. It's nothing much. Tu Zishan did not care. I said I'll stab you to death. Ling Su, whose face was covered in blood, said arrogantly. That was impossible. Andre was shocked by Tu Zishan's identity. The Hall Master of the Onyx Soul Hall was equivalent to the commanders of the Leo Constellation's armies. Even someone as respectable as Andre did not dare to neglect him. He immediately replied, To be able to meet the Hall Master, it is Andre's honor. Crane did not let his guard down, but he pretended to be relaxed. That's right, there is no conflict of interest between us. Don't the higher-ups care about this? Andre was in disbelief. The highest authority was the Elder Group. The Honorable Martial Alliance had 13 Honorable Martial Elders that formed the Elder Group, while the Onyx Soul had 7 Onyx Elders that formed the Onyx Soul Council. Andre could tell that Tu Zishan was trying to protect the 3 of them. It would be foolish to offend Tu Zishan at such a time. He laughed. It's good that everyone is safe. We need to rest too. Even until her death, Ji Xiaoya could not understand how there could be such a crazy person in the world. A person covered in blood was showing his white teeth. Was he smiling? Tu Zishan was a man of his words. He never lied. Everyone had yet to recover from the shock. They looked at Crane and the other 2 with shock and disbelief. Although Qian Xin was a frivolous person, they knew Tu Zishan well. If Tu Zishan said that, then it must be true. Tu Zishan looked at everyone's expressions with interest. He pointed at Lu Hai, who was lying on the ground. When I arrived, he was already dead. As for Ji Xiaoya, she was killed by Tang Tian alone. However, he ran too fast. He did not even have time to collect the loot. I helped him find it and handed it over to Brother Crane. Qian Xin was shocked. He quickly waved his hands. Hey, Hall Master, the 5th and 7th Halls are brothers. The red-haired Qian Xin whistled. With Hall Master 2 here, we have wasted our time. I am a gold-ranked martial artist. Tang Tian, who was covered in blood, boasted proudly. Andre, Qian Xin, and the Bat Assassin worked together to kill 2 gold-ranked martial artists. All of them were injured to varying degrees. Now that they heard that Tang Tian and the other 2 killed 2 gold-ranked martial artists, did that mean that Tang Tian and the other 2 were as strong as the 3 of them? Andre seemed to have caught on to something. 2 people walked out from the corner. Then, he threw a silver Aquarius vase at Crane. Andre replied humbly. If not for Hall Master's help, it would be hard to say the result. According to their intelligence, even if Tang Tian and the other 2 worked together, they would not be able to kill a gold-ranked martial artist. Yi Zhaogu and the rest were famous, but they were still too young. Although they had great potential, they were still far from being comparable to a gold-ranked martial artist. Crane was after all from a prestigious family, and his understanding of these things was far more than Tang Tian and Ling Su. He did not expect the bald man to be a hall master of the Spirit Hall. Spirit Hall. Crane was surprised. The Spirit Hall was equivalent to the Gold Branch of the Honorable Martial Alliance. The difference was that the Honorable Martial Alliance had 13 gold branches, while the Spirit Hall only had 9. Crane suddenly looked at the door. A group of people appeared in his vision. After a while, he regained his senses. It can't be that bad, regardless of whether it was the Gold Branch of the Honorable Martial Alliance or the Spirit Hall of the Onyx Soul. They had strict rules and were extremely closed off. Outsiders did not know much about them. Another point was that the Gold Branch and the Spirit Hall had the same rules. If a family's disciple wanted to enter, he had to sign a martial spirit contract and cut off all ties with the family. The bald man smiled. I will not talk nonsense. I would like to invite the 3 of you to join the Onyx Soul. I am the Hall Master of the 7th Onyx Soul Hall, Tu Zishan. Different, the 2 of them were like 2 blocks of wood. They fell to the ground and fainted. Qian Xin waved his hand and said helplessly, The hatred between us and the 2nd Hall is enough to write an entire history of the Onyx Soul. Of course, the 7th Hall has their nemesis, the 3rd Hall. Let's not talk about the past. 2 of the 3rd Hall's Vice Hall Masters died in the hands of Tu Zishan. Many of the 7th Hall's men died in the hands of the 3rd Hall as well. A bald man raised his hands and said, We are from the Onyx Soul. Although we had some misunderstandings in the past, these misunderstandings have passed. There is no conflict of interest between us. The Gold Branch belonged to the Elders' Judgment Team, while the Spirit Hall belonged to the Dark Parliament. Regardless of whether it was the Gold Branch or the Spirit Hall, they had a high status. They did not need to accept orders from anyone other than the Elders' Judgment Team or the Dark Parliament. Usually, the decision-making was in the hands of the Branch Master and the Hall Master. Chapter 382. In such a short period of time, he actually became so much stronger. That's right, that's right. Tang Tian was pleased with himself, just short of writing, "I am very powerful," on his face. Chen Zilin had a deep understanding of the unique martial technique. In his eyes, behind those dry and dull names, was a magnificent era and a hero's glory. As for the other martial techniques, Chen Zilin's reaction was indifferent. If he were to disregard these two martial techniques, the only one that could be considered as outstanding would probably be the wind concealment steps. As expected, killing the gold-ranked martial artists was not in vain. Tang Tian was elated. Chen Zilin stared at the unique slate, somewhat in a daze. In the short span of a few months, there were already over 73 types of unique martial techniques that were lit up. He had been guarding the unique slate for so many years, but this was the first time he had seen such a situation. Chen Zilin was extremely familiar with all kinds of data, and this ratio was very normal. Tang Tian's reputation in Andromeda City was something that everyone did not expect. Carefully keeping it in the silver Aquarius cabinet, Tang Tian's gaze landed on the unique spirit card. Tang Tian followed behind Bing, looking around and exclaiming out, "Wow, Uncle, this place has changed a lot. Did you clean it?" Number 07 Army Barracks seemed to be brand new. Previously it was like a wasteland. Oh, not like it was a wasteland. But now it was still the bronze forest, but all the buildings were clean, and the copper rust that had formed over the years had disappeared. Oh. Unique spirit card. Spoils of war. Tang Tian's eyes stared straight and he crawled up. The war had just begun. The most eye-catching was a pair of gold-ranked gloves and a unique spirit card. And the Cosmic Point Spear's origin was the Oblivion Spear, which was also a 4-star unique martial technique, and also a terrifying martial technique. Tang Tian's heart could not help but tremble. He suddenly had a bad premonition. Just these 3 spoils made Tang Tian feel extremely satisfied. They were all things that money could not buy. One could imagine Bing had spent a lot of effort on this. The only regret was that no one practiced the hammer technique, so this unique card could only be left unused. The amount of loot was beyond Tang Tian's imagination, especially Lu Hai's collection. Tang Tian was overjoyed. Lu Hai only had 2 items in his collection, a variety of gloves and a unique spirit card. No matter how you looked at it, these 2 numbers were not eye-catching among the 20,000 unique martial skills on the unique slate. However, Chen Zilin knew that these 2 martial skills were extraordinary. He didn't care. "TSK, what a rare guest," Bing said eccentrically. His poker face looked unkind. Tang Tian was not interested in Lu Hai's other collections. Qilin gauntlets. Originated from one of the 10 equatorial palace halls, Qilin constellation. It was completely gold in color, and shone with an enchanting luster. The gauntlet looked like it was covered in scales. There were horns on the gauntlet, and a dignified and ferocious aura enveloped the entire room. He muttered in his heart. He was extremely familiar with the ancient records of a mortal martial. Every time there was chaos, the number of unique martial skills on the unique slate would increase exponentially. This was the rule of the unique slate. Number 07 Army Camp. "Uncle must have a lot of feelings for this place," Tang Tian said. When everyone talked about Chen Zilin after a meal, they would often say, "This kind of person will probably guard the slate for the rest of his life." Wah. Golden gauntlet. Tang Tian kept all the other items and entered the cross door with the unique spirit card. It was not a good thing to have 2 companions who treated money like dirt. There was no joy or excitement at all. Tang Tian muttered in his heart. The simple and unadorned army camp looked like it had been reborn. In the suicide room, Tang Tian thought about his previous experience and shivered. Compared to Lu Hai, Ji Xiaoya's collection was much less interesting. However, the Thunder Radiance Hammer made Tang Tian's eyes light up. Unique Spirit Card. Bing's footsteps paused for a moment. Then, he acted as though he did not hear anything and said, "You are lucky. Although there are many places in the army camp that have not been repaired, there are a few places that are suitable for you to train in. It's a pity that you destroyed the suicide room. If not, you could have done it again." Tang Tian wiped the saliva off his mouth. His eyes regained their clarity and his face fell. The appearance of these two martial techniques made Chen Zilin very interested and excited. Tang Tian thought about it. It seemed like he had not been here for a long time. He was embarrassed, but when the words came out of his mouth, it immediately became boastful. "Ha ha ha ha, Uncle Bing, let me tell you something amazing. I killed a gold-ranked martial artist." When he was bored, he did a ranking of the unique martial techniques of the 4 stars. These 2 martial techniques were the top 10 strongest martial techniques of the 4 stars. Yes. Bing nodded seriously. It is very suitable for demolition. His body was covered with bandages, making him look like a mummy. This was done by Ling Su. No one was better than Ling Su when it came to bandaging. However, Tang Tian's injuries were not serious. The wounds were not deep, but the number was frightening. The battle between Tang Tian and Ji Xiaoya was witnessed by almost everyone in the city. The gold-ranked treasures were full of intelligence. In order to control it, one must first tame it. With Tang Tian's current strength, he would not be able to control it. This Qilin gauntlet was prepared by Lu Hai for the future. Although he did not let Tang Tian off, he could not help but secretly observe the qi that Tang Tian's body was releasing, caused him to be secretly shocked. "I don't want to join either," Ling Su said straightforwardly. Bing noticed Tang Tian's expression and immediately became happy. Speaking of which, although the suicide room is scary, it has a high death rate. However, if you are talking about pain, it is nothing. There are many training courses that will let you understand that when the pain reaches a certain level, death is nothing. Oh, it is indeed powerful. Tang Tian agreed. Join Onyx Soul? Tang Tian shook his head like a rattledrum. "I don't want to join." Crane Sword Wheel originated from Death Sword Dance, which was a 4-star unique martial technique. It was very scary. Before Crane left, he pointed at the silver Aquarius cabinet beside Tang Tian. Crane Sword Wheel, 2 stars, number 17226. Out of the 73 unique martial techniques that were lit, 3 were rated as 3 stars, 15 were rated as 2 stars, and 55 were rated as 1 star. Tang Tian was long used to Uncle Bing's sarcasm and ridicule, and was not angry. He laughed and said, "Uncle, I got 2 unique spirit cards, and one of them is suitable for me. Thousand Cleave Demonic Fist, how is it? It sounds powerful, right?" In fact, it was much harder for a new martial technique to enter the list than a lost martial technique. However, this unique martial technique was suitable for Tang Tian. The Fire Scythe Ghost Claw was fierce and powerful, but it did not have many variations. Tang Tian urgently needed a martial technique that could allow him to have more attacking method. There was a period of time when Chen Zilin was obsessed with researching the essential differences between unique martial skills and non-unique martial skills. He had once spent a lot of time researching those unique martial skills that had the qualifications to become unique martial skills. The Wind Concealment Steps was one of them. On the contrary, when everyone heard that the Honorable Martial Alliance had lost 4 gold-ranked martial artists, it made everyone excited. Naturally, no one could see the battle in the Fairy Palace. Crane and Ling Su's battle with Lu Hai was also not seen by many. Fairy City regained its peace. Although the battle was intense, but to the citizens who had experienced the explosion of the Fairy Palace, it was not enough to make them panic. However, it had nothing to do with Chen Zilin. He was just a disciple on duty at the unique slate. In everyone's eyes, He was a strange person with a cold personality who spent all day doing meaningless and worthless research. Point star spear, 2 stars, number 16894. And then you were beaten up by a gold-ranked martial artist? Bing mocked. Since when did killing a gold-ranked martial artist become something to be proud of? I thought you killed a saint ranker. However, recently, unique martial techniques had appeared frequently. Chen Zilin was already numb to it and did not feel anything. It was not only him, the entire immortal martial was numb to it. Furthermore, due to the instability of the law and order, the immortal marshal's information system was also affected, and it became harder to get information back. 20,000 unique martial techniques, most of them were independent and not related to each other. However, there were some unique martial techniques that had deep connections with each other. It was Tang Tian's first time seeing a real gold-ranked star treasure. His eyes were glued to it, and traces of saliva could be seen at the corner of his mouth. Thousand-cleave demonic hand, 2 stars. This was an extremely unique technique. The technique was known for its variations. The so-called technique referred to the fact that there were no fixed technique. It could be used with fingers or palms, and could be changed as one wished. Thousand-cleave demonic hand. Emphasized on the word dismantle. It could dismantle tens of thousands of techniques, and there were many variations. It could be soft or hard, and it could be used to find a way to win. Tang Tian. Seems like everyone has the same opinion. Crane seemed to have predicted their decision, and was not surprised. Then I'll go and reply to Tu Zishan, don't let him wait too long. Oh right, that's the spoils of war. But very quickly, the room was filled with his excited cheers. This fellow, unlike the Qilin gauntlets, Lu Hai did not care much for this 2-star unique martial technique. After thinking about it, Tang Tian was relieved. Lu Hai was a fist technique martial artist, and this technique was not suitable for him. The reason why he kept it was probably to see if he could exchange it with someone else in the future. Of course, the chaos of the world would make it harder to gather information, but it would also make the information more valuable. The morale of the entire immortal marshal was high. Cleaning. Bing's poker face twitched. Idiot, this is repairing. Repairing is a very difficult and technical task. Chaotic times? Immortal marshal. But among the data, what caught his attention was not the 3 3-star unique martial techniques, but the 2 2-star unique martial techniques. Crane's Wheel of Swords and Cosmic Spear. Because the former represented creation, and the latter represented inheritance. Gold-ranked martial artist? Bing was startled. Ling Su was not interested in these things. He left and said, I'm going to train, don't bother me if there's nothing important. Chapter 383. After saying that, he then realized, shouldn't he be the one asking that question? He tried to make up for it. Hey, who are you? That's right, it's also a sea. Tang Tian was reminded, and immediately remembered. You said it before, it's something called the Exiled Ocean. Bing, who could not stand Tang Tian, left in anger. Of course, before leaving, he did not forget to take the unique hammer technique spirit card. Amidst the dazzling sparks, the pair of white slender palms seemed to have some sort of magic, bringing along an indescribable rhythm. The 10 fingers were like flowing water, continuously striking Tang Tian's 10 fingers. The ocean of peace is where I belong, my battle spirit is at peace. If I don't teach you a lesson, you will never know the importance of respecting your instructors. Bang bang bang. He stood up and walked out. The man was dressed in a gray martial artist robe. His face was clear and skinny, around 40 years old. His gray pupils gave him an indescribable gloominess. His arms hung naturally by his side. His fingers were long and snow-white. Yes. Bing's gaze was far away, looking at the breathtakingly beautiful sea, and said, The army has 4 seas, the Exiled Ocean, the Indigo Mirror Ocean, the Prairie Blazing Ocean, and the Ocean of Peace. An intense sense of danger enveloped his mind. Without thinking, The fire scythe ghost claw brazenly attacked. Just throw the unique spirit card into the sea. Tang Tian threw the unique spirit card into the sea in anticipation. Bing's expression twitched. All right, to be calculative with this fool. He was truly too stupid. He acted as though he did not hear anything, and was about to continue. Who are you? The middle-aged man suddenly asked. The weird thing was, his own finger force did not trigger anything. Tang Tian scratched his chin, as though he was shocked. After a while, he pointed to the indigo mirror ocean. Uncle, is the water in the sea drinkable? It's so beautiful. Tang Tian muttered. The scenery in front of him was filled with dreamy colors. Behind the small door, how can there be a sea? He thought about this question for a very long time, until finally, he found an answer. It must be the commander and the rest who hoped that he could pass on the Southern Cross Army. Tang Tian was shocked. This was the first time he had encountered such a situation. Bing thought of many people, thought of many things. The lingering smoke was like the clouds of the past, slowly brushing past him. Crash! His agile and slender arms were like two intertwining snakes, and he seized the opportunity to enter the middle of the palace. Outside Lan Jing's room, Bing leaned on the door, took out a cigarette from nowhere, and clumsily lit it. The acrid taste of tobacco rushed up his throat, and he coughed violently. The surface of the sea became as smooth as a mirror again. The man stood quietly on the surface of the lake, his gray eyes sizing up Tang Tian. It's so clean. I really want to drink it. Tang Tian licked his lips. The smoke had burned out, and he seemed to wake up from a dream. Why was he the only one alive? Bing did not doubt that Tang Tian's future achievements would be much higher than his, and Tang Tian was destined to walk the path of an ultimate martial artist. He couldn't think of a second reason. The sounds of magnetic collisions between the two sides were dense and light. The dazzling sparks quickly dimmed in the repeated collisions. Plop! Tang Tian's gaze was slack as he fell into the sea, and the water flowed in reverse. Little guy, you want to fight with me, you're still too inexperienced. That must be it. Tang Chao's lectures had given him a lot of inspiration. A man floated up from the sea. Bing's ideals were different from Tang Tian's. The first military general academy in the history of Lupus Constellation, the Sky Martial Wolf Academy, started to recruit students from the outside world. Bing's voice seemed to have passed through time and space, and floated around the indigo mirror ocean. Tang Tian was dumbstruck. Bing finally exploded and roared, "Scram!" Slowly, he started to get used to the smell. He leaned against the door and quietly smoked. The blurry figure on the surface of the unique spirit card suddenly floated out slowly. Sweet. Hey, uncle, you haven't told me how to cultivate unique martial techniques in the indigo mirror ocean. Compared to Tang Tian's ideals, Bing's was much smaller. To rebuild the Southern Cross Army. To him, if the Southern Cross Army was not a mechanical army, then it would still be the Southern Cross Army. An army's inheritance was not about the number of strong martial artists, nor the number of mechanical engineers, but the inheritance of faith. Wow, so mystical! He was not in a rush to throw the unique spirit card into the spirit hall. He was clear that to build an army, the most important thing was the people, and not the martial spirit. Luckily, at least he had the fool. Tang Chao's plan to attack Fornax Constellation had been submitted for a few days, and even Bing had to admit, the plan was done very well, and the success rate was very high. The Fire Scythe Ghost Claw's finger power could be triggered at any time, and as long as there was a slight contact, it would immediately be triggered. Just now, Tang Tian dared to guarantee that he would definitely have touched the opponent's palm. This is called the Indigo Mirror Room, and every Indigo Mirror Room leads to the ocean. Although martial artists were the strongest in this era, he still stubbornly wanted to build a mechanical army. The Sea of Exile is an endless prison, and will forever imprison sinners. Tang Tian quickly activated his true power, and his fingertips exploded with light, like a beautiful firework, whistling towards the opponent's palm. With a unique spirit card, it would be of great help to his plan. Using the spirit hall in the barracks, there was a high chance that he could obtain a strong enough spirit military leader. Although Ink City could not directly enter Fornax constellation, but it could pass through Eridanus constellation, and then enter Fornax constellation. If the speed was fast enough, and the attack was sudden enough, the possibility of conquering it in a short period of time was very high. Enjoy your wonderful life, hee. I'm really looking forward to it. This guy hated failure so much, was so brave and fearless, and so hard-working and tolerant. Every time Zhou hit Tang Tian's finger, it would remove a portion of his true power. Tang Tian felt that the true power in his fingers was like a deflated balloon, and in the blink of an eye, it was reduced by more than half. If you want to train in unique martial techniques, there is no place more suitable than this. The originally gray figure slowly became brighter, and different colors appeared. His flat body inflated like a balloon. Tang Tian was stunned for a moment, and vaguely felt that something was wrong, and subconsciously replied, "I am Tang Tian." Hey, shouldn't I be the one saying that? This sea is the Indigo Mirror Sea. At this time, Tang Tian realized that the opponent's palm had once again entered the attack range of the Fireside Ghost Claw. He was overjoyed. Let's see how you escape this time. Hey. Tang Tian did not have time to defend himself, and only saw a gray figure enter his vision. Tang Tian's heart trembled so fast. The sapphire blue sea was calm without a single ripple, like a huge mirror, extending from the door to the edge of the horizon, as far as the eye could see. The sky hung low, as though it was within reach, and the soft white clouds quietly stopped there, casting their reflections on the surface of the sea, just like a large-size cotton candy. He had already started to get used to the loneliness of being alone for 10,000 years, used to the vast and empty camp, used to the memories of the ruins. If the commander was still here, he would definitely like this fool, Bing thought. How could it be like this? Tang Tian's face was in pain, and his entire body flew out. From the corner of his eyes, he suddenly realized that the opponent was following him like a shadow. He had always been vexed that he did not have any helpers. Since it was like that, then he might as well groom himself. Although this process was slow, but the benefits to the future were real. Countless of hands once again blossomed like flowers, filling up Tang Tian's vision. Bang! The smoke was what he found when he was cleaning the barrack. He remembered it was left behind by Ah Kai. In the army, only he, the old smoker, would spend so much money to build a smokehouse. At that time, he remembered that Ah Kai had said proudly that even after 10,000 years, the cigarettes inside would still be safe and sound. After that, they were quickly transferred to other places, and Ah Kai's smokehouse was mocked by everyone for a long time. Bing on Tang Tian saw the shadow of the commander. The Prairie Fire Sea is the place where energy is born, where tens of thousands of spirits are born. Tang Tian's vision blurred. Suddenly, in his vision, countless of hands blossomed like flowers, immediately messing up his rhythm. He felt his fingers touching the opponent's palm, but before he could release his true power, his fingertips were empty. Behind Bing was a square door. This door was square without any decorations. Bing pushed the door open, and Tang Tian could not help but exclaim. Pa! Tang Tian was hit by countless of whips, his body trembling like a sieve. The Indigo Mirror Ocean is the boundary between reality and illusion, the place of purification. Tang Tian's voice came out from behind. Furthermore, he had a completely sealed experimental field, which was Lupus Constellation. Before he finished speaking, Tang Tian had already lost sight of the opponent. He could do whatever he wanted here, and there would not be any restrictions. Will it be very salty? Tang Tian muttered to himself, eager to try. Thousand Hands Demon Lord Zhou. The middle-aged man said coldly, Then let me see your strength. Bing, who was immersed in the glory of the past, was stunned. Tang Tian was surprised to find that the door had disappeared, and he was surrounded by the sea. Bing closed the door. The unique card sunk into the sea, but strangely, there were no ripples on the surface of the sea. Suddenly, the unique card became as bright as a lamp. The sparkling and translucent sea water was like a jewel reflecting the light of the unique card. It was time to work. He did not know what the commander was thinking when he smoked like this in the past. His poker face, which was illuminated by the cigarette, exposed a warm smile. The feeling of emptiness in his fingers made Tang Tian feel unspeakably uncomfortable. But this fellow was a bootlicker. The commander's cigarettes were personally made by him. Behind the door was actually the sea. Maybe Tang Tian did not know what his future would be like, but Bing was full of confidence in him. Tang Tian shouted every day, "Go to Southern Cross constellation, find Xie, find the answer," but Bing saw a strong martial artist on Tang Tian's body. Bing's poker face exposed a sinister aura, and his tone was normal. "Oh, just throw the unique card into the sea." Bing was in a daze and reminisced. "Do you still remember the place where you found me?" Chapter 384. A training base that could accommodate 3,000 people did not need to be too big. Using their previous underground training base as the main body, it was expanded. There were only 30,000 people left in the second round of the test. Alan felt a rush of hot blood to his head. These two words seemed to possess some sort of divine power. The academy was a place where only the rich could enter. There were powerful martial artists and famous teachers there. In his heart, the academy must be a heavenly place. With young Tang's intelligence, how could he think of such a powerful move? The energy concentration of Lupus constellation was extremely thin, and there had never been any strong martial artist. The worrying thing was that the consumption of star stones was simply like flowing water. It would be worth it to die for such a king. Bing was extremely excited. It was his first time encountering such a fiery scene. Bing had already strictly limited the age of the applicants. Only 12 to 14 years old were allowed to sign up. But even so, the number of applicants had already reached 3 million. That also meant that close to 90% of the youths in Lupus constellation were here to register. Who would have thought that instead of conscription, they would recruit students? Of course, to Uncle Bing, who would not wake up early without benefits, he felt that this move could not be any better. The spectacle of the various registration points caused the Bing who started it to be dumbstruck. The 5 polar domains fluctuated between 10% and 20%. There wasn't before, but there is now. De Peng said, "The Wolf King has just built it. It only accepts 12 to 14 years old. The tuition fee is completely free, and there is a monthly subsidy of 150 star coins. 150 star coins, that's enough to feed a family." Academies. Bang, the courtyard door was pushed open heavily, smashing against the wall at the side, making a terrible clanging sound. Alan was glad that he had reinforced the door the last time he repaired it. Otherwise, he would have to repair it again. "The Sky Wolf Martial Academy is recruiting students," De Peng said excitedly. "This guy definitely wouldn't knock." The rock rushed in like a gust of wind. Luan. In the entire Lupus constellation, there were only 3 academies, and the exorbitant fees were not something that the poor could hope for. Alan had a helpless look on his face. What's so urgent? And this was only the consumption of the energy hall. In the daily training, the training of true power was just one of the basic subjects. Spirit cards, mechanical spirit weapons. Fortunately, these youths of the Lupus tribe were all very diligent. Diligence might not make you a top-notch martial artist, but it could at least make you a decent martial artist. The reason why they were weak was because they did not receive systematic training, and because of the thin energy in Lupus constellation. He had always been waiting for the Wolf King's conscription. The hardships of life had long since taught him that there would always be a balance between receiving and giving. For this awakening potion, he was willing to be conscripted. The lives of the Lupus constellation people were like grass. It was normal for them to risk their lives for a bag of rations, not to mention a portion of awakening medicine. Bing's rich experience was showing its value at this moment. In the past, when the Southern Cross Army recruited new soldiers, it was the same. He quickly formulated a few low-level preliminary test standards and quickly issued them. Sky Marshal Wolf Academy? Alun gulped down a mouthful of water. Don't talk nonsense, there is no Sky Marshal Wolf Academy in Lupus Constellation. There had never been a Wolf King who was so benevolent. It seemed that every time he tossed and turned, the final situation would always be too big for him to handle. The youths of the Lupus tribe had never experienced such dense energy before. All of them greedily cultivated with all their might, not even needing the soldiers to urge them. In other constellations, youths of this age would usually enter an academy to study, but in Lupus constellation, the majority of the youths would already be working at this age. The Lupus tribe were simple and honest. To them, Tang Tian was someone who truly treated them well, and serving Tang Tian was the greatest wish of the majority of the youths. But he did not truly understand the poverty of Lupus constellation. To countless of the Lupus tribe, this portion of awakening medicine would profoundly change their fate. When the Million Awakening Medicine Project was first announced, Alun did not believe it at all. Only when the awakening medicine was sent to his house, did he then understand that it was all true. The difference in energy concentration of 1%, the difference in training results would be extremely huge. Because training was a process of accumulating over time, the difference of 1%, in 10 years, 20 years, or even 50 years, would cause a huge difference. Bing only reflected for 3 seconds, then decided to throw the problem to the side, and let the crazy young man torment himself. Alun had long decided, if the Wolf King called for him, he would definitely go. To judge whether a constellation was rich or poor, the most important indicator was the energy concentration. After the blood meridians awakened, Alun's strength had a qualitative leap. And there were a few extremely intelligent fellows, who were extremely good military generals. Bing secretly paid attention to them. This was a terrifying number, and Bing understood the meaning behind this number. Bing had a guilty conscience. Remote, impoverished, backward, this was the true portrayal of Lupus constellation. Tang Tian completely did not know what kind of effect the last time he threw out 1,000,000 portions of awakening medicine would have on him. In truth, he already did not remember this matter. To him, it was not a big deal. After a rough calculation, Bing realized, if Sky Marshal Wolf Academy maintained its current scale, and maintained a relatively high standard of training, the annual expenditure would be at least 10 billion. The Energy Hall's daily expenditure would reach 5 million star coins. In a month, it would be 150 million star coins, and in a year, it would be around 2 billion star coins. This incident had a huge impact on Bing. The Million Awakening Medicine Project, that he thought was ridiculous and boring, actually contained such a shocking amount of energy. Sexton's constellation was the smallest constellation of the 10 equatorial palace halls. Even if it was placed in the southern sky or northern sky, it was still a small constellation. But its dense energy made it one of the 10 equatorial palace halls. Sexton's constellation itself did not produce anything, and all the resources had to be bought from other constellations. But this did not affect its prosperity, as countless of martial artists flocked in. Sexton's constellation gradually became a training base that was open to the public, and there were all sorts of training facilities that were extremely complete. And the final round of testing, only 3,000 people were left. Lupus constellation's energy concentration was extremely low, and ranked at the bottom of the southern sky's 42 constellations. The concentration of energy in the air was only 1%. The southern sky constellation's strongest concentration was 5%. This was a sealed hall that could accommodate 3,000 people, and the energy concentration inside was 30 times that of the outside, reaching the energy concentration of an equatorial palace hall. The energy clothes were too expensive to manufacture, and the energy rooms required a huge amount of energy. Bing and Sai Lei discussed for a long time, and finally completed a brand new design, the Energy Hall. The simple initial test eliminated close to 90% of the people, leaving behind only 300,000 people. But this number still far exceeded what Bing could bear. Rock bricks were the only product of Green Rock Village, and almost all of the villagers relied on it to survive. The sales of the rock bricks were very ordinary, and everyone could barely make ends meet. So, when Sky Wolf Martial Academy started to recruit students, the situation almost went out of control. Constellations with high energy concentration, even if they did not produce anything, would attract martial artists like Duck. Because the energy concentration directly determined the martial artist's training speed, and the most typical example was Sexton's constellation, one of the 10 equatorial palace halls. Since ancient times, Lupus constellation was the poorest constellation in Heaven's Road, because it was too barren and desolate, and foreign martial artists were too lazy to occupy it. Only the persevering and hard-working Lupus constellation could survive in this desolate place. In a short span of a week, over 600,000 people signed up, and by the second week, the number had already risen to 1,700,000. The establishment of Sky Wolf Martial Academy caused a huge reaction in Lupus constellation. Bing was extremely excited. The strength of the 3,000 people was extremely low, but he did not mind. Picking out 3,000 out of the 3 million people, 1 out of 1,000, all of these youths' talents were outstanding among their peers. As long as a martial artist had ambition, he would choose constellations with high energy concentration. Without saying a word, Alun rushed out. Bing could not understand, but he decided to carry on with the plan. The awakening medicine was cheap to them, but to the citizens of Lupus constellation, it could change their lives. As long as they were nurtured carefully, and provided with sufficient conditions, their strength would soar. Alun. The northern sky constellation's concentration was between 5% to 10%. With this guy here, I can't do anything. Alun patted off the stone powder on his body. Although he was only 12 years old, his physique was already much sturdier than the average youth. His bulging muscles looked extremely robust. In front of him, there were many rough rock bricks, and his job was to cut them smooth. Alun was one of the beneficiaries of the Million Awakening Medicine Plan. If it was in the past, he would never have dared to imagine that one day, his blood meridians would awaken. In the past, to awaken blood meridians required the awakening blood spring, and the awakening blood spring was in the hands of the big powerhouses. The big powerhouses used the awakening blood spring to amass wealth, and the price was not something that ordinary people could afford. But the key was the training of true power. The energy in Lupus constellation was too thin, and the growth of true power was extremely slow. To speed it up, it required additional energy. The Ecliptic Palace constellation's energy concentration was at least 50% and above, and the Overlord Leo constellation's energy concentration was as high as 72%, which was an extremely terrifying number. No one had ever done such a thing before, and Tang Tian's prestige in Lupus constellation had reached an unprecedented height. Those tribes that were originally afraid of Tang Tian's power and influence were now completely convinced. The 10 equatorial palace halls' energy concentration fluctuated between 20% to 40%, like Sexton's constellation. Its energy concentration reached an astonishing 33%. Why were the low-level constellations unable to retain strong martial artists? Was because the energy concentration was too thin. It was as if he had unknowingly created a big hole. Lupus King built it? Alun was startled. He put down the teacup, his face revealing a look of respect. A series of shouts and squeals came from outside the courtyard. Alan helplessly stopped. When would the rock change his fiery temper? That would be great. Ah Luan, hurry up, don't be late. Dupring immediately reminded, and then said proudly, I have already registered. Bing was happy and worried.